I'm Lily.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are the Drakes.
Welcome to Drake Academy. Welcome to today's show. We are T-minus like 3 days till the boil. And we could not be more excited. So for today's episode, though, we are just going to recap what we just did, which was the Kraken's Cup, and talk about kind of our tournament experiences and all that. We'll then go into part 2 of our topic from last week, which was building your CEDH deck, kind of how to pick yours. Last week, we identified all the elements that make up a CEDH deck. This week, we're going to talk about now how do you actually use those elements to pick your own CEDH deck. So kind of blending last week's episode and this week's episode, and hopefully that'll let people pick a deck. Before finally, we will answer some audience questions. We have a bunch. And then we will do, like we always do, a meta watch, and we'll probably tack on a discussion around Rhystic study because that is the hot topic right now. And we will weigh in on whether we think it should be banned or not. Before we get in today's episode, we have a word from our sponsors. First up, we have, of course, Land Goes the Boil. Like we stated at the beginning, we are just a few days away. We are up to 196 players last time I looked, and hopefully this will be over 200. I'd imagine it will get over 200. Magic players literally wait till the last second. So there will be people who will register the morning of Saturday.
Yes.
For the event.
Yes.
But we're super excited for this. We have the team event on Friday, which we announced earlier today about the cards. Mm-hmm. You probably saw like all of the different players posting their cards from Team Zen, Team Lemon Pepper Wet, Atlanta Power 9, and ourselves, Monolith. So super excited for this event. I think it's going to be awesome. The main event should be pretty cool. I'm going to defend my title, Boil 3 champ.
You got to win it all.
I don't want to win
back
it
to back.
I don't because then the jokes will never end. The jokes will never end.
You got to hit that repeat.
So we're excited for it. It's gonna be awesome. It's expo-like atmosphere, so vendors, artists, the whole 9 yards. Wayne's pulling out all the stops for this, so we're pretty excited. Should be a good one. We're also going to be at Misplay on the Lake, April 18th in Cleveland, Ohio. We just did, not that long ago, I had to think about this, a few weeks ago. We just did an event in Ohio called the Tabernacle event run by our buddy Jake, and it was a good time. We had a great time. The the player base for Ohio is super awesome. Some of the best players, funny enough, in the entire country, all just congregate in this little area in the Great Lakes region, between Michigan, Ohio. And even if you go like Wisconsin, it's just a bunch of really good players all around.
Yeah. So
this should be a really fun event. We're excited for it. Really looking forward to it, and should be a good time. Yeah. I mean, Monolith is gonna be sending quite a few players, so Lily and I will be there to join with the rest of our team. And we're, of course, sponsored by Heavy Play. Make sure to go to heavyplay.com/monolith or use code monolith when checking out. You've probably seen us carrying these products around. We think they're really awesome. I'm actually about to buy a new playmat because they released a dragon-themed one, and of course, I got to buy into the dragon-themed one. And this one's really sick. So kind of also matches our team colors in the red and black.
It kind of does.
So
I think it's really nice.
It's funny, too. I just got the blue one sent, and I'm already like, I want another one. When I end up collecting Heavy Play playmats alongside my regular playmats that get displayed on the wall.
Magnetize them to the wall.
Actually,
with their little system.
Oh, dude, you could. Almost like display system.
Right.
That's actually kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
But yeah, so definitely make sure to check them out. They've got lots of cool products on their website. The magnetized system is super convenient. The more and more I use it, the more and more I'm impressed by how just easy the whole product is to use and just how nice it is. I mean, being able just to take a little deck box in my playmat everywhere because they all connect together and not have to worry about a backpack. Pretty sweet. Can't lie. I really like it. So make sure to check out their website, check out their products. Anything that you buy using the Monolith code does help support Team Monolith. So we do appreciate anyone that uses that. And we want to thank the rest of our sponsors. We can't always name all of them by name every single time, but we do want to go ahead and throw them up here on screen so that they can be recognized. We're sponsored. They're all sponsored through Team Monolith, and by addition, sponsoring us. So we really thank them for their support. We really, the team couldn't exist without them, and it's been a really awesome journey so far. And we really do appreciate all the support. So thank you to everyone. And let's get into the show. So before we jump into the main topic, we got to play the Kraken's Cup. You've probably seen us advertising this for a few weeks now. But we finally got to play in the event, and it was a blast. We had never been to Nags Head before.
Yeah.
So a couple caveats, right?
We've never been to the coast of Carolina before, period.
True. So unfortunately, it did only get 59 people when it was all said and done. I think the event really got screwed by two big things. One was that a bunch of events popped off. Like, Kraken's Cup had been announced months ago, but some events cropped up like kind of the last second.
Yeah.
So there's an event in Richmond, there was events in Winston, there was an event in
There's an event in Chapel Hill.
Not Winston.
Not Winston, Chapel Hill.
Chapel Hill. And then, what was the other one in North Carolina? There's 3 in North Carolina.
Oh, in Morganton. Morganton as well.
And then there's one in Greenville, South Carolina, I think, as well, right?
I'm not sure about South Carolina.
Either way, there was a ton of events all in the area. That's not even counting the Ohio Highlander event, Albuquerque. I think there's another big one. So there's a bunch of events this weekend. And I think they all just kind of turned this, what was supposed to be a 20K into, I want to say it was a 5K when it was all said and done. But they did give us the checks the day of. And I do appreciate that because I have played enough SCG cons to know that is rare.
They payment the day of. You can't complain about that.
I mean, even when we did CCS, I didn't get paid for like 2 weeks. When you do Top Deck, they pay really quickly, but still takes time, right?
Yeah.
We walked out of there with checks that day.
Yeah.
I still actually have to cash my check. I should probably do that.
Good reminder.
Yeah, that was a lot of money too. I top forward, so. Yay. But it was a fun event. Nags Head is beautiful. We've never been to the Outer Banks before, but man, and it's tourist off season. So it's right on the beach. So like literally there's probably not a mile between beach on both sides. It is a very tiny strip of land.
Yeah. The venue had beach access as well. If you went to like the second floor, there was beach access point, which was lovely.
Yeah, we went out and had a shot in the dark. Well, y'all had a shot. I stood there. I don't drink, so I stood there. But was really cool. It was a cool event. Was really well ran. So even though less people than we were hoping for, it was really in a beautiful location. Our Airbnb was nice. The event was run really well. Very smooth. No real big issues that I saw. There was food to buy, snacks and stuff. So.
They brought in pizza as well.
Oh, yeah, they did.
We really appreciate food as CEDH players that never eat.
Yeah. I didn't realize they even brought it in for free.
No, yeah, it was free.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I didn't even know that. I was deep in my round punting.
Time twistering yourself to death.
So for the event itself.
Yeah, do an event recap.
So the event itself, I did really well. I did manage to top 4. I went 2, 1, and 2 in Swiss. So 2 wins, 1 draw. 2 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws. One of my draws should have been a win.
Whose fault was that?
Oh my God, bro. I hate Breach sometimes. So I had to DemCon for my brain freeze after I breached. I was under... So there was people trying to do stuff. I ended up having to silence somebody to stop a win, but then I was able to flash in VFC and try to present my own win. It was that time too, so it was like even hotter because I was under veil, under silence. Ugh. But I couldn't find... I had Breach, but I had no tutor. So I had to play Breach, and I think what did I do? Oh, I cast Manamorphose. That's what I had.
Oh,
no, I cast the Veil.
You cast the Veil. You kept casting Veil for some reason.
Because I didn't have a tutor.
I
I didn't have a tutor.
I didn't know what that whole line was.
I was casting Veil to find a tutor.
Okay.
I found DemCon. And I didn't want to keep going on Veil because it felt like that was bad. So I decided to rip the DemCon for Brain Freeze. Now, one thing to note. This is the second time I had to rip DemCon for a card. The first time I DemCon my entire library away, like except for 4 cards, was super shitty. That was in game 1. The only game I lost was the game I molded out, or I DemConed away my entire library, except for 4 cards.
Sure.
Which was frustrating, but whatever, right? It's a turbo deck. Sometimes this happens. But this time, I did hit the Brain Freeze, but I exiled a lot of my library, including my Thoracle. So I was having to figure out how to win now. Made a mistake early. And I keep doing this. It's so frustrating.
You'll learn one day.
I exiled Bowmasters because I didn't think I needed it.
That's crazy.
And it was so stupid because if I just
with the amount of wheels that you run, saying
God.
I don't need Bowmasters is crazy.
Oh, and it lost me. Oh, I didn't lose. We drew. We drew. So I was trying to twist. I had Smothering Tithe out. So I was twister looping, trying to figure out how to build. I was trying to build up storm count high enough to where I could brain freeze everybody out. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not super experienced on breach lines, I realized at a certain point I didn't need to loop at all. I had Wheel of Fortune. I should have just been wheeling the whole time. And then I would have had enough to brain freeze everyone out. I also should have let one of the players die because he was being swung at and there was lethal on him. So all I had to do was wait for him to die, and then it would have been 2 players to win through instead of 3.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. I bungled this one so badly.
You really did.
So I twisted loop down, ended up building up a brain count. Sorry,
a brain free storm count
of 90. So I was able to mill out 2 players, but then I had no way to actually kill anybody.
Yeah.
I don't run Fairy Mastermind in the deck, which may be a mistake.
That might be a problem.
I had Wheel of Fortune, but I had 2 cards.
2 cards in your deck, yeah. Yeah.
And no way to keep, like, even when I looped back again, I only had 9 cards left after looping so many times, because I looped like 8 times with Time Twister.
Yeah.
Oh, so painful.
Watching that, whatever that was, because my round was finished, watching that in time was so chaotic. And one player told him, hey, play it out after the breach resolved. And in the moment, I thought, I mean, it's in time. That's a little extraneous. Like, man's got a breach and a brain freeze. And then Jordan started playing it out, and I was like, I see.
Turns out you should
Interesting.
Sometimes you should just make people play it out to see if they fuck it up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I've got a loop. Are we good? And then he's like, yeah, but how do you win? And I was like, I win. What do you care how I win?
I win off vibes, damn it.
Well, I said I'm just gonna loop this around until I get enough storm count to just
your math. Yeah, your math wasn't bad.
No, the math was fine.
No.
I twisted too many times. I needed to pull back 2 twisters and I was fine. I don't know what I was thinking. For some reason, I was thinking that I had to be able to rip brain freeze all at once on everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that, because I had plenty of cards in the library earlier on to where I could have just cast brain freeze like 3 times. Mm-hmm. Killed the one person, brain freeze like 2 more times, killed that person, brain freeze 1 more time, and killed that person. And I had enough cards to brain freeze. I had like 30 cards at that point when I could have done it. And I don't know what I was thinking. I just kept looping.
I said that
cost myself like 9 more cards I didn't need to cast.
The math was there, but you're bad at math.
Yeah. And I had omniscience basically because I was doing it into a smothering. Oh, it was so bad. The good thing is I made up for it by winning round 4 because that was round 3. Round 1 and 2 were pretty uneventful. Round 1 I lost. Round 2, someone handed me the win on a silver platter. You take those. Right. Someone mind break trapped a pact on my wheel where I had double Smothering Tithe because they wanted to see 7 new cards. That was way too fucking greedy. I made 42 treasures. Handed me the game on silver platter. Round 4, put the guy into a really bad spot to where he felt like he had a Necrodom into his breach, which does not work.
Yeah, no.
Because he immediately exiled his Lotus Petal and then he was GG's.
Don't do that.
I guess this one got handed to me a little bit on silver platter too, because he did Necrodom into my Smothering Tithe.
That fully got handed to you.
And then I had to do kind of a convoluted line to win because I didn't have any cards in hand. I had exactly breach in hand and no graveyard. I had like 2 cards in my graveyard and a breach, and that was it. I drew Crop Rot for turn, which actually was hot because on my turn I cast Terra, milled 5 cards, didn't see anything that mattered. Or maybe I don't remember if I had breach in hand or if I hit breach off of Terra. I can't remember that now. I'm kind of conflating the games.
You had the breach in hand, and I think you went over a J-Will.
I did on the second one.
Okay.
Because what I did is I crop routed for Phyrexian Tower, towered, sacked away Terra to make 2 extra black, then recast Terra, and milled over the J-Will.
Okay.
And then from there, I was able to piece together a win using J-Will because I had to recast. I think I cast J-Will twice and hit everything I needed.
Yeah.
Both J-Wills.
Yeah.
Because really, I was just looking for a single tutor because I had 40 treasures I had 30 treasures.
He totally handed you that game as well. Yeah. That was wild.
Turns out Smothering Tithe busted card. And then game 5, I got really unlucky. I outplayed Ian pretty well this game. and I caught him with the Necropotence, and I had plenty of mana off the Necropotence, and I whiffed hard. I ripped this shit for like 32 or 33. Did not hit a Final Fortune, a Born Upon a Wind, a Valley Flood Caller.
Welcome to the variants of Turbo, baby.
Did not hit my Crop Rot. Didn't hit a Tutor for Brain Freeze. Yep. Nothing.
Welcome to Variant City.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yep.
You know how low the odds of that are?
Jordan, I run Necro. I've been Necroing for a long time. I know.
No, but my Necros are better than yours. I have Crop Rot.
Doesn't matter.
And
that Variants of Turbo. You're learning the hard way.
Either way, that sucked ass. And then I basically had to bounce everyone's creatures so they didn't just whack me on the crackback. What sucked about it is I did manage to land a Notion Thief on the turn and passed. So I was able to take everyone off their Rhystic studies. But I misplayed. This is where I finally misplayed that game. I was playing it perfectly all game long, and I finally misplayed. Ian ended up copying my Notion Thief with a Imposter mech. And that turned back on his Wondering. He activated his Wondering. I had a chance to Besage you his Imposter mech, and for some reason I just didn't. I think I was too worried about the Rockthrash player behind him.
That's fair.
Untapping with Cradle, and I wanted a chance to blow up Cradle.
That's fair.
I think this was a genuine mistake, though, because it did draw Ian into like 2 pieces of interaction. I think if I hit his Imposter mech, I win the game.
Maybe.
Because I draw 3 cards instead of Ian. He doesn't draw his interaction. Because it went to the Rockthrash player in front of Ian, didn't do anything. Then it went to the other Rockthrash player. He attempted to push Wayne, and he ran right into my Mindbreak Trap. And I Mindbreak Trapped him. And I watched Rockthrash Dirtle. And the whole time Ian's like, are you going to interact? Are you going to interact? Are you going to interact? I'm like, no. And then he finally got to a choke point. Like, I know the deck too well. And, you know, you can try and priority bully me, or you can try and bully me into using my interaction, but it's not going to work. I'll interact where I want to interact. Ian, unfortunately, drew 3 pieces of interaction. I could have beaten 2. I couldn't beat 3. So we drew.
Fair enough.
We drew instead.
Yeah.
Because I had a chance to go to my turn and win off the breach, or off the Necro, which you'd hope so, right?
I would hope so, yeah, if you've seen 30 cards in a turbo deck.
So that was a little frustrating, because if I hit him, he doesn't draw all that interaction, because he would have only just seen his 1 card. And then what is he going to do from there? Whereas I untap with all my interaction and my pieces and win. But what can you do? Top 10 game then was really cool. This is a game that lives in infamy.
That was not cool.
It was fun for me.
Don't tell these people that that's cool.
I had triple Rhystic study. What was even funnier about the triple Rhystic study is most of my turn before the 3rd Rhystic study, when I already had 2, they were fighting my fish. Because I was trying to get double Rhystics and fish, and so they tried to fight the fish. They successful in defeating the fish. The look on their faces, though, when I was like, cool, stack clear? Cool, I'm going to make this.
Genuinely, I told him after the game, I didn't top 10, we'll get to mine in a second, but genuinely, I told him, you know how cats play when they have like, maybe like a bird, like a mouse, that they're just kind of like, like when they get on the counter and they see like a pen or something, and they just kind of, and then hit it off. That was Jordan. He just kind of pawed everybody around. Oh, 2nd Rhystic. Oh, 3rd Rhystic study. Oh, Smothering Tithe. Oh, we're going.
I did have Smothering Tithe too, yeah.
Oh, I'll cast Breach now. Like, asinine.
I mean, why do it before you're ready? Why not draw 9 more cards?
We're gonna have the Rhystic study conversation later. This is that should be the Rhystic conversation.
I was having fun.
3 is asinine.
They could have countered it at any time. The guy next to me, he flashed his hand multiple times. He had the interaction.
And then what are they gonna do to the Breach, Jordan? Where's the interaction for the Breach?
To be fair, without the Rhystics, I don't have the Breach.
I hate it here. This format is so unserious.
The sad thing is, as the judge said, the judge is a friend of mine. He said, oh, that was karma when I mulled down to 3 for the top 4. I mulled to 3. Winota mulled to 4 or 5. And Roxanne mulled to like 4 or 5. I think they both were on 4, but I could be wrong. I was too busy
being sad,
figuring out how I was losing. Ian kept like 1st or 2nd summon, so we were already, and in seat 1, so we were.
Yeah, you're cooked. You're cooked.
And the whole game just like went perfectly for him, even to the point where like I had a moment in the game where I could have demconned, for Brain Freeze and attempted a win, and he would not have had anything. Problem was,
You got spooked.
I'd had 2 bad Demcons. I did not want to go for a trifecta in this fucking tournament of bad Demcons, so I chickened out. And it did cost me the game because...
I mean, you were, at that point, you were losing anyways, right? Like, that's my thing with you not sending it is...
Not necessarily
if
because...
Ian was so far and away, you're not beating his study.
He wasn't that far. If he whiffs on his last turn, he loses.
He had a study. You did...
Right, but no one was casting anything at a certain point. Winota was Winotaing. I didn't have shit to cast because I was top decking shit. Yeah. And Rockside got countered early and sat there.
Well, the Rockside experience.
So, we all started kind of just swinging at Ian to try and kill him, and he was close. We had him down to like 12, somewhere between 12 and 18 life. So we were very close to taking him out of the game. Fair enough. If he whiffs, I'm a 90% certain if he whiffs there, he loses. Because Winota wipes him out, and then I untap and win. Because I had Thoracle Consult in my hand. And Breach, actually. I had top deck nothing but my win comes that game. But then I had nowhere to... Like, the Breach, I had nothing to do with it yet because I didn't have a way to, like, keep it going. Yeah. That's why I was saying I could have Demconned for the Brain Freeze and ripped the Breach into them. And
you just done that.
And I looked, I would have had it. Brain Freeze was not that far down. It was, like, 9 cards down. So I would have absolutely had it. And then I looked at... Because I would have been Brain Freeze for 12 and then Brain Freeze for 6. So I would have seen 18 cards. Yeah. LED was in those 18. Yeah. I would have had it. Oh well. Live and learn.
Yeah. So I went 2-3 in this tournament. So I was playing Pirate Farm. Like I said, I stand on business on the internet, and I've been talking about Grixis Pirates. So that's where we're at. That's where we're staying for the foreseeable future. And I had the very stereotypical Grixis experience of you win or you lose. It is one or the other. And I kind of made a concerted effort not to take draws, not to put myself in a position to force draws either, just kind of see what happens, honestly. That was a gripe of mine with Blue Farm, is I felt like I was just drawing a lot of games at the end. Like I could play out my interaction, I could politic well, it just never really converted to the wins due to shit timing, and so I said screw the draw this tournament, and I hate myself for it. I have regrets. So game 1 was a pretty clean Breach win. Funny enough, against our friend Greg, who we stayed at the Airbnb with. Shout out, Greg.
After dunking on it.
Shout out, Greg. Thanks for the Airbnb. Here's an Underworld Breach.
Fucked up.
But yeah, I mean, it was in a position where I had a fish. The Rogthras player was sending into my fish. We had enough to stop Rogthras, and I had open mana, and I just Final Fortuned. And it was just kind of Final Fortune from the top rope. Nobody really saw it coming. I did get the Final Fortune turn in time where I did an Underworld Breach line, and GG's from there, pretty straightforward. Round 2, I think, was probably my biggest screw-up of the whole tournament. So it was... me on Pirate Farm, a Rogsai, a Rogthras, and a Blue Farm. And it got to the point where we were all just kind of like developing engines, and Rogsai tutored twice but hadn't pushed yet. And they had an E-zone, so we were all kind of scared of the Rogsai. So I had a bunch of mana. I had a Braids, Arisen Nightmare on my board. And when I'm passing to Rogsai, that Braids got me exactly, I think it was, did I already have the Born? No, it got me exactly Born, Chrome Mox, and Offer You Can't Refuse with Breach already in my hand. So I'm like sick, Breach and mana, right? This is lovely. Yeah. All I need to do is wait for somebody to do something squirrely, and I'm going. Rogsai puts Thoracle Consult on the stack. Thoracle Tampact, whatever. And they have a bunch of interaction. They're fighting it. And Blue Farm gets to a point where they're like, hey, look, I have a pact. I can't pay for pact. Do we want to draw here? Me being the aggressive little shit that I chose to be at this tournament said, I didn't make my position known at that point. The Rogsai said, no, I don't want to draw because he thought we were low on interaction. In my hand, I have Offer and Swan Song, I believe, and maybe a Red Blast. I have plenty of interaction in my hand, and this is kind of where the punt starts to come in. So Rogsai says, no, I don't want to draw. And then Blue Farm just kind of says, okay, proceed. And I think Rogthras countered again from there with the last thing that they had. Blue Farm didn't use his pact yet. Rogsai used one of his pieces of interaction to stop what Rogthras did. And then at that point, Blue Farm again says, I will only pact if we draw here. And I said, no. Born upon a Wind. And then I started doing stuff, and eventually, and the Blue Farm offered me the same thing. And Rogsai's like, oh, okay, cool. We're cool. She has a Born. I'll draw at this point. And I said, nah, you can pact my Born. I think I've got it here. And then they packed the Born. I beat the pact. And then the Rogsai player Mindbreak traps the very next thing that I do, which caused me, because I think I offered my Chromox to get more mana to get to the breach to keep going, and they Mindbreak trapped the offer, because that was my third spell. It was Born Chromox offer. They got me on that, and I was like, fuck, I didn't think Rogsai had interaction. And at this point, I don't have the Red Blast or anything. I have no mana. So I just got on a really aggressive bet. I thought Rogsai was out of interaction.
Yeah.
Being Rogsai already interacting for their win attempt. Evidently, I was wrong, and that ended up costing me top 10. I should have just taken the draw, but like I said, being the aggressive little shit that I am, I didn't want to take draws.
Yeah.
So round 3, it was pretty straightforward. Blue Farm, Kinnan, Blue Farm, myself. We all had fish by turn 2. Blue Farm A makes a really, really unnecessarily reckless push. Corwin's actually in that pod. Corwin tries to make a push. He gets stopped. Kinnan ends up winning. Very straightforward Kinnan BS. Fuck Kinnan. Anyway, round 4. Another just like straightforward breach win. Our friend Malik was actually in that pod. There's a Rog Rayhan in that pod. We had a discussion about like what Rog Rayhan's gonna do. I bank on a Vexing Bauble and a fish, so that's my turn 1, turn 2. Fish, actually I had the interaction in my hand too. Fish gets me to a breach line, like breach and Jessica's will. So I Swan Song Rog Rayhan's Necro, I bounce Malik's Stacks piece, and then I just go on my turn. And
Nice.
There were no other blue decks in the pod. It was pretty uncontested. And then round 5, I got Winnoted. And
What a way to end it.
what a way to end it. So I literally just needed a draw in round 5. And
what place
Could
did you
not
finish,
make it.
Lily?
fuck off, Jordan. I finished in the fuck off play. No, I finished 11th initially, and then somebody's friend like updated standings for them, fixed a pod that was screwed up, and so I ended up like 12th at the end of the day. But initially I was 11th, and that made me want to go walk into the beach fully clothed.
What?
Like go walk into like the water, just like fully clothed, like a really dramatic like movie moment.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a really unfortunate day for me.
I mean, another.
We don't need to talk about it.
Scrub out
We
is
can move
kinda
on.
fun.
We can move on from that. It's not a scrub out. I won games.
Another bubble.
Scrubbing out's not even winning games.
Bubble, bubble, bubble. Bubble, bubble.
Anyway, moving on. Have a whole other podcast to talk about other things that aren't my record. We're not a tournament channel, we're not a tournament recap channel.
We could be.
Moving on.
There's a niche for that. No one else does that.
You got jokes.
Every once in a while.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, overall good event. We had a good time. Happy to top 4 and hilarious to see Lily bubble again. So now we can get into kind of our main topic today. Yeah, cue music. All right, so the bulk of our discussion today is going to be based around how to build your CEDH deck, kind of the part 2 of this series that we started. Mm-hmm. So last week was how to basically identifying that CEDH deck where, we're looking at it, we're going to decide, okay, what does a CEDH deck look like? And we defined elements within that. We'll throw the elements on screen. But the intention behind this, because we did get a lot of comments on this, asking, was this the end all be all, how we could refine it, blah, 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 right? The idea behind this was not to be 100%, this is every CEDH deck defined. The idea behind this was for players that are either switching over from casual to CEDH or for players that are just picking up the game, or players that have played one deck and are looking for something different. A lot of times it's very hard to actually understand what a CEDH deck looks like. And the intention behind this chart was to showcase what we believe a top tier CEDH deck look like. If you look at the top 50, every CEDH deck basically fell into this category. Now, of course, there are edge cases, right? There are decks that may only really fill one or two of these categories. Like the beater category, does it really need to be there? It's arguable. The idea, though, was that pressuring life totals does matter in CEDH more than people realize. And so we did think that was a category worth discussing. And it also benefited decks we didn't even talk about, like Alexios, where their entire design is to beat the face off somebody. And they kind of fall into that beater, do a busted thing category.
Yeah.
Do a busted thing was kind of the catch-all to catch these edge cases of like a great example. Ulalek just won an event this weekend.
True.
Ulalek does not meet generally most of the criteria for what makes a CEDH deck. It does a busted thing. It's 5 color. So basically it, right? But heck, like we've said before, any deck can win on any given day, right? There is no such thing as a CEDH deck. If a deck is somewhat CEDH viable, it can probably take down a tournament at some point in time. It's just the way our format is. It's so high in variance that what you're really defining is consistency. So the top decks that we identified, the decks that are going to meet more of these criteria, are going to be your very consistent winners, the ones that do take down tournaments all the time across different pilots. A great pilot can take a subpar deck and do very well with it, right? There are tons of examples out there of great players doing so. The problem with that is that you're not going to have that consistency. And we're going to talk about that a little further. And we can actually kind of just jump right into that idea. So the first point when you're picking your CEDH deck and you are looking at, okay, how do I actually begin to pick one? The first thing you have to do is define your goals for what is a CEDH deck. Really, once you've identified your CEDH deck, right? So one thing I do want to say before I kind of jump further into this idea is if you have not watched last week's video, please do so, because we are going to be pulling elements directly from that video, right? This is a part 2 of a series. So definitely make sure you watch part 1, because the elements that we discussed last week, we will be pulling in to kind of bring it all together, tie a nice little bow on this whole thing, and explain why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So first up, the goal of your deck. When you're looking at a CEDH deck, yes, we can identify the best decks in the format. We all know Blue Farm is the best. We know Kinnon's probably second best, right? These are not mysteries that need to be unraveled. We know this. So what your objective then is, right? Because if we knew what the best deck is, then everyone should just be playing Blue Farm, right? But we don't all play Blue Farm, right? Because we all have different objectives of how we're approaching CEDH. So the first goal is, well, there's kind of 3 main goals that you want to break this down into. The first one is, I'm here to have fun. I do not care about my tournament results. I do not care if I win. I am the guy who showed up to Vegas with $1,000, and I'm here to blow it all and not give 2 shits. That is the first kind of, I guess category of goals, right? Players that just want to show up and have fun with their friends, and they don't care what deck they play. They just care about having a good time. Maybe their deck gets to do a cool thing. They don't really care about the end game, the end results. They're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
I got to hang with the boys. I got to go out and eat good food. I got to see a new city. I had to play some Magic, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in this category, the deck you pick does not matter. Pick something that's fun, right? Like, that's very simple, very easy. The flip side of that is you are here to win. Your only objective is to win as many games as possible, win the tournament, make the money, right? That is what you're here for. You're not here to see the boys. You're not here to get good food. You're not here to see a cool city. Now, most people are probably some combination of both of these, right? I'm here to have fun and I'm here to win.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that if my primary goal is to win the tournament, then I need to be running the best deck possible. And then you should take meta into consideration then, right? You should be looking at the top 10 decks, if not the top 5 decks, and picking your deck among those top 5. Because, like we said before, the idea becomes about consistency. Any deck can win a tournament on any given day. But can that deck win 10 tournaments in a row?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, we'll take Ululek as a great example. And we can also take a look at Kevin Shadowfang.
Yeah.
Can these decks win 10 tournaments in a row? There's a world. It's probably not this one, but there is a world.
Probably not a high chance.
It's definitely not a high chance. It's probably less than 1%, right?
It could happen, technically, sure.
Now, if I take Blue Farm to 10 events, what are the chances of me winning 10 of those?
A little bit higher.
Much higher, right? Still a low percent chance. But like, let's now kind of bring that out to, I want to top 4 consistently. Blue Farm can probably top 4 every tournament you take it to.
Yeah.
Very easily. Kinnan definitely can.
Yeah.
Ululek?
Probably not.
Definitely not. I'd tell you, definitely not.
No.
If it was that consistent, players would be playing it more, right? You always can tell when a deck is actually meta viable because it picks up a ton of steam, a bunch of players pick it up, and a bunch of players stop top 4ing with it. So like Ragesh has a great example of that, but when Nadu blew onto the scene, right, it immediately blew decks out of the water. We knew it was busted from the very start. That is how you end up defining kind of these meta decks of like, okay, I know I want to play a top 5 deck, Blue Farm, Kinnan, Rockgrass, Roxai, TNT, Timna Dargo, whatever, right? The decks that have proven to be consistent performers that can top 4, top 16, and win tournaments. A lot.
Yeah.
Then there's the middle category. The poor souls in the middle category. They want to win. They are here to win, just like category 3, right? They're here to, or category 2, sorry. They are here to win the tournament. That is their main goal. However, they want to have fun while they do it, so they pick something that is not meta. Their goal is to win on their off-meta deck.
Yeah.
We all know these type of players. There's a ton of them out there who are going to slam their heads against the wall of running their off-meta deck, and they swear they will never put it down, no matter how bad it is performing, because they want to win with that deck specifically. This is their pet deck. This is the deck they love. This is the deck they put all their time, energy, and money into. The reason I say poor souls is because it's an exercise in frustration, right? If you understand what your goal is going into a tournament, right? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to win. Then you have an expectation for how you want the tournament to go. However, if you're running more of an off-meta-ish strategy, right, and your goal is still to win, you have to go into with a different mindset of, I want to win, but I'm willing to accept that that might not happen because I'm running a strategy that is slightly, what's the right word here? Slightly less effective than, the top strategies. Now, again, you can win, but it's all about consistency. These decks will never be consistent. That's not, if they were, again, players would play them more. So I think you have to have a really high mental fortitude and understand that, like, you're not going to get there more often than not because the deck is not designed in a way that's consistent enough to do that all the time. Mm-hmm. But if it's more fun for you to do that and you get a lot of joy out of, getting to that summit and getting there on your off-meta deck, then by all means, do it. But just understand, you have to be mentally prepared for the flip side of the fact that you will not be winning as consistently as you would be on a better deck. Yeah.
And I feel like there's a certain amount of transferability, at least between 1 and 3, but not vice versa, right? Mm. So the deck that you just go to the new city to hang out with the boys on can be Big Flips Kinnan, right? Sure. And you're probably going to, take a couple rounds, right? Maybe you'll top 16 with it because it's still Kinnan. Maybe you won't, who knows, but you'll still have fun in the process, right? When we say the deck that you have fun with, that doesn't necessarily mean complete off-meta, verging on jank, right? It can still be a top-tier list, so to speak. But on the flip side, if you're looking to just win tournaments and be as hyper sweaty as possible, you're not even looking at the off-meta jank. You're not looking beyond Blue Farm, Rogthras, Kinnan, Sisay, Rog, Sai, TNT, right? Like there's no reason to. If you want to give yourself the highest odds of winning, you basically just stick into that realm. And then, of course, there's the people in the middle where this kind of doesn't apply to, because I feel like they're sort of all over the spectrum with the decks that they choose. So even if it can be their pet version of an on-meta build, right? Mm-hmm. So people that do different things with like Rogthras, for example. And at its core, it's still Rogthras, but you're banging your head against not running it in the most optimal way. You're making slightly more suboptimal card choices.
To like get in your pet cards.
Yeah, to get in your pet cards, right? Yeah. And you acknowledge like, hey, this isn't going to be the most optimal build of Rogthras, but it's fun for me and I'm going to bang my head against this wall. And it's not necessarily, I'm just here to have fun. It's, I'm here to win with my particular pet cards on my particular pet deck. So there's a certain amount of like transferability among these categories, unless of course you're just looking to be hyper sweaty. You also have to acknowledge, especially for the people that are in the I'm just here to have fun category, you really have to marry yourself to that mentality, because after a loss or two, you realize losing really sucks, right? So it also takes a lot of fortitude in this first category, because you kind of realize, oh, okay, I'm just here to see my deck potentially do the thing. I'm really not going to win all of these matches. Yeah. And you have to mentally really prepare yourself. And like, it's one thing to say, I'll probably lose every round. I'm going to scrub out, and then actually start scrubbing out. And it's like, oh shit. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Mm-hmm. So that's something you also have to be prepared for.
Yep. No, 100% agree. 100% agree. I mean, without it, and this is why I said poor souls, right? It just becomes an exercise in frustration. Mm-hmm. And it burns people out of the hobby really quickly. Mm-hmm. And that's why making sure you understand what your goal is so important for this step.
And I feel like people skip this step. People go 100%. straight to do I want a turbo or do I want a mid-range? And then from there, after they go to a tournament or two, it's like, oh, what am I doing? Okay, what's my goal? Mm-hmm. I've lost a lot with turbo. Do I care about losing? Yep. Oh, I really care about losing. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into actually the perfect segue for the second part of identifying your CEDH deck is identifying what archetype you're most comfortable playing in. Now, in 60-card Magic, there's a bunch of different archetypes. Kind of, to a certain degree. People may disagree with that. But you have mid-range turbo stacks is the rock, paper, scissors-ish. And there's a lot of in-between in gray areas within that. Stacks does not exist in CEDH paradigm.
A lot of people are going to come for you on that one.
I mean, that's fine. But it's true. The problem with stacks, traditionally, is the timing issue. Stacks decks traditionally can't win in time. This is, of course, not always the case. There are plenty of stacks decks that do so. But if you're looking at an old school prison-style stacks build, it's very difficult to win within 80 minutes. The games just get super bogged down. People kind of sit around doing nothing. You can get to like 15, 20 turns, and it's draw pass for a while, right? And unless you have a deck that's like built to break through that in the 80 minutes, which it's very, very hard to build that effectively. I think I've literally only seen it once, and that was just a Jetmir deck. Because even with Noda decks, they kind of stack you out, but they're more combat decks anyway.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. I guess it is a stacks deck, but it just doesn't feel like it because it just feels like it does so much damage so fast.
Oh, Winota?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely the beater category more than I'd say the stacks category. The stacks just kind of suck.
Like Jetmir is very it is a beater deck as well, but it stacks you hard.
Yeah. Even something like Blood Pod, they're really just like it's incidental stacks, so they're really just trying to get to the Protean Hulk.
Right.
So it's just kind of there.
Yeah. So like a true prison stacks deck is extremely rare in CEDH. I've literally only ever seen one. And it was a long time ago. So like I don't know that I really believe this archetype truly exists in tournament play. Now I think if you're playing CEDH with your friends, then sure. Go crazy, right? Because you can sit there for 5 hours and make them suffer. But in CEDH, in a tournament 80-minute round, stacks is in a bad place. So I don't agree. I do not believe you should run a stacks deck. Now, running stacks pieces within your stacks deck, fine. Or like within your control-ish mid-range deck, perfectly fine, right?
Yeah.
Run a Curse Totem in your Tivit or your Blue Farm if you really want to go stacksy. Run a Deafening Silence in your Winodas or your other creature-heavy white decks. Run a Dampening Sphere in your Magda. And
God Pharaoh statue and everything else.
yes, right? Like, there are options in other decks. So stacks doesn't really exist in a tournament meta. So really it comes down to mid-range versus turbo.
Right.
Now, I think in theory, turbo should beat mid-range. That's what I always hear. I don't know that necessarily is true for most CEDH pods. Because turbo still has to beat 3 decks, right? No matter what. Even if those other decks are turbo decks, you still have to beat them. So while I think if it's one-on-one, turbo does beat mid-range.
Yeah.
But with the 3 people, it changes the dynamics of it. And so there's a tension between these 2 decks. Now, the benefits to turbo is that you don't have to politic as much. Games don't last as long. Unless things go completely wrong. Then you might be politicking and games might be lasting longer. But like I was joking with one of our turbo players on Monolith, and I was like, yeah, if you're at turn 4, you're suffering. Actually made me think of the old Rick and Morty Mr. Meeseeks episode where existence is suffering. It's like the only episode I can actually remember from that show. But I think about that as like, yeah, that's turbo players are Mr. Meeseeks.
Hi, I'm the Rockside player. I'm Mr. Meeseeks.
Yeah, they just want to be out of the game as quickly as possible. The longer they're there, the more they suffer, and they want out. And I think that's a very apt description for what Turbo's trying to do. They're trying to go quickly. They're trying to get under the draw engines and the politicking and the Rhystics and all the nonsense and close the game very quickly before everyone else sets up. Of course, the flip side to that is they're very easy to blow up because of that, right? If you are smart and you keep interaction and you've politicked correctly, they're very easy to stop and stay stopped when you hit them once. Because if they haven't mulliganed into a busted hand and they took something risky, that's like, oh, I have a turn 2 win, but it's unprotected, and if I get hit, I'm just blown out. And we see that all the time. So as long as you're somewhat responsible, turbo decks can get blown out, which is kind of why the flip side of mid-range and why mid-range is considered king right now is because you can sit on your Rhystic Study forever. You can hide behind it with all your interaction and hold the rest of the table hostage almost to a certain degree, where like I'm gonna draw a ton of cards, I'm gonna have good card quality if it's like a deck like T and K or some of the 5-color shells, and then you just kind of can win the game kind of whenever you want because you have very efficient cards and very efficient win cons, or you have a deck like Kinnan which creates overwhelming mana advantage, or Rockdust kind of does the same, and then you can just close the game on people. So the Turbo is trying to win turns 1 through like 3-ish. Sometimes it's like, some people say like 2, even 3 is too late, but mid-range decks are trying to win from kind of turn 4 onward. And this is why it gets a little complicated, because there's archetypes within the mid-range, right? You have control, proactive, your traditional mid-range. Like control decks are probably trying to draw the game even longer to like turn 6 and 7. Proactive decks can be a little bit faster actually, in wanting to end the games like on turns 3 and 4. My TNT list, I always say turn 4 is where I turn the corner.
Right.
But I'm probably winning on like turn 5 more often than not. Turn 4 is like my turn the corner turn, and I'm blowing you out of the water. Turn 5 is where I win.
Right.
Traditionally. That's not always the case, right? Sometimes it's turn 3, I turn the corner. Turn 4, I'm blowing you out of the water.
I feel like on my Pirate Farm deck, like 3 is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like 3 to 4 is generally.
And that's why yours is like a proactive mid-range deck, right? Like you can turbo out a Glinthorn.
It's just always funny. Everyone's like, the turbo deck. I'm like, I promise it's not.
Well, because you can just go, turn 1 Malcolm, turn 2 Glinthorn.
Those are so rare.
Right.
Is it a theoretical possibility? Sure.
But you can also go turn 2 Malcolm, turn 3 Glinthorn, and that's not very rare.
That one's not rare. That's what we're going for.
Right.
That, like I said, 3 to 4 is the sweet spot.
And that's why, like, it's turbo leaning proactive.
Yeah. No, not turbo.
It's totally turbo. If you're trying to slam a Glinthorn turn 3, unprotected even sometimes, it's turbo.
Nonsense.
Yeah, whatever. It's full of shit.
Nonsense.
Politicking at the freaking whatever this is. The politicking in the studio. No politicking sign behind us.
Oh, that goes for you too.
I don't politic shit. in here. Had to caveat that a little bit.
Okay.
So that's like your kind of key aspect. If you want to politic more, I think mid-range gives you more politicking ability. It gives you more agency in the game in terms of how you dictate how this game closes. Turbo is kind of at the mercy of how the mid-range players respond. Like, kind of the premise behind Turbo is you're banking on people's greediness. Mm-hmm. And you're banking on them making mistakes in the early game to let you win. But a good mid-range player is never going to make those mistakes. They're just going to counter you. And then you're just like, oh, well. Unless you have the nuts. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I had it all. And I'm Turbo. And I win now.
Yeah. And sometimes the mid-range players don't have it.
No,
they mulligan for it. They don't find it.
You've heard our stories.
It is what it is.
You've heard our stories plenty of times, right? Where I tell this Marnius story like almost every episode, it feels like, where you tap out for Smothering Tithe and then no follow-up and no counters and we lose.
The audacity of that one really gets you.
Honestly, it's because it's like 3 or 4 Esper decks now that I've played against have all done the same shit.
Yeah.
Of tapping out for something greedy, whether it's a Wondering or a Smothering Tithe or even Rhystic Study can be kind of greedy. Like, oh, I'm going to tap out into a Rogside on Rhystic Study. It's like, great. You're going to draw 6 cards, and if you don't draw a counter spell, we lose.
I say you better already have the free interaction in hand if you're making those kind of bets.
They never do.
They never do.
They never do. I mean, even playing this past weekend against Ian at the
Kraken's Cup.
The Kraken's Cup. So like I was saying earlier, with Ian, right? Like there were a couple times he tapped out with Tivit, and I almost got him with it, right? When I was talking about like the Demcon, a couple of times with the Demcon, I could have gotten him with the Demcon or the Necro. Sorry, it was the Necro and then the Demcon. I could have gotten him.
Yeah.
And both times, just didn't work out for me, mostly because I chickened out on one of them, and the other one just super whiff. But whatever. But even that, right? Like, it's really hard to play into that archetype correctly, and control is really tough. So you have to be careful with how you do it. But it does give you a little bit more agency and a little bit more control. So that's why people really like mid-range. So that's kind of where you have to decide that, right? Are you more turbo slanted, where you want to end the game early, you don't want to politic as much? Are you more mid-range, where you want to have more agency, you want the game to go longer, you want to politic and make deals and all that nonsense? So first up is identifying your goals, then identifying the archetype that you're most comfortable playing. From there, the next part is choosing how you win the game. I think this is the most important part.
Yeah.
Because once you've decided, okay, I'm a turbo deck, now you want to decide how you want to win. Are you comfortable running breach lines? Are you comfortable winning with Thoracle? Are you comfortable winning with Timna Dargo loops? Or Curiosity Vivi effects? Or Lumira lands? Or whatever, right? The reason I say this is because I played Esper for a long time. Esper win cons fucking suck. They just do.
Fair enough.
Outside of Tivit Time Sieve and Thassa's Oracle, the rest are fucking awful. Hullbreaker Horror really sucks when you don't have a Kinnan. Or a glut of green mana for like a Cradle or something.
Yeah.
We're basically banking on Tithe. And if you don't get a Tithe, yeah, GG's.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
It's bad. It's so bad. Like, I tried so many times with Hullbreaker Horror, and it just, there's so many games where I was always a mana or two short. I mean, 7 mana in CDH is just asking so much.
I mean, also made more difficult by losing two free pieces,
Right.
like Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus.
So, like, what I'm saying here is the best thing you can do is decide, I want to, if you want to make it hard on yourself, right? You can be like, I want to win with freaking Mind Crank, and what's the fucking, oh crap, the one black enchantment that goes
Blood
with it.
Chief's Ascension.
Right. I want to win with Mind Crank Blood Chief's Ascension. Cool. You go for it, buddy. Your life's going to suck, but sure. I mean, it's fine. It's a fine combo. But identifying how you want to win helps you then start to kind of move towards a color pie, right? Like if you love Breach, then you can go, okay, Grixis Light. I can either go Grixis or Mardu Shell on these, right? There's two distinct differences between them. One is working more with grinding station effects. One is working more with brain freeze. I guess the other one can be like Wheels as well. Wheel J Will.
Yeah.
Is like another option for the Mardu lists. So that's, I really think you decide on your win con. The ones you want to win with, if you like making infinite mana, like I love making infinite mana. That's always been my favorite thing to do in CEDH. So TNT was a very natural goal for me. Because the other ones were like always like, oh, I want to do Nagila, which is she's a Minuteman outlet for like Derevi and Grim Hireling.
Yeah.
Or before that was Marnius, and I was doing a lot of the Marnius Infinite Mana stuff. So
I was gonna say, but if you gave me infinite mana, I wouldn't know what to do with that. You give me an Underworld Breach line and tell me to work it out, I'm gonna figure it out. You give Jordan an Underworld Breach line, we're gonna time twist ourselves.
Thank you. Yes, we will.
You're welcome.
Yes, we will indeed.
But you give me a green deck, I don't know what I'm doing, right? So
picking your win con helps then start to move you towards the color identity you want to go for. And that's kind of step 4-ish. Because it's like step 3 and then step 4.
yeah.
So picking your color identity is huge. Because when you pick your color identity, this is how you're going to decide the card pool that you play around with. This is important for a few reasons. 5 color is really hard to start with. Because you have to get used to picking your lands. Lands are really hard to play correctly in 5 color. Because fetching the wrong land can lose you the game, as I have done countless times across both Nagila and my new Terra list.
Yeah.
I've already got a couple games under Terra where I fetched for a wrong land, and I realized it, and I was like, shit. I don't do it as much in TNT, because TNT has a lot more rainbow lands, and a lot of times it's just green.
Yeah.
As long as I have green, in some capacity,
Yeah.
I can get there. Cradle do be busted.
Ban Cradle.
No.
We're talking about ban Rhystic Study, ban Cradle.
We're never banning Cradle. So picking your color identity is big, because then it determines the card pool that you play with. I mean, I think that's obvious, but the players don't really think about it as much from that perspective. They're like, I'm thinking from my commander, right? I want to build this commander specifically. And if you're in the category of fun, then it doesn't matter. But if you're building it in the way that we're telling you to, right, and you're identifying your color, then it becomes easier to pick a commander that meets the strategy you're going to go for, right? So, like, for example, I want to make infinite mana, and I really, I want to do Devoted Druid stuff, right? Like, that's my favorite combo of the game. Devoted Druid some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to look at all the Devoted Druid combos. And then that determines, then when I'm looking at the color shell, I'm like, okay, I really like Devoted Druid in Bant. Right? So now I'm going to look at all the Bant commanders that let me do the Devoted Druid strategy in Bant colors. And it's really, Dogthras is like the best one. So then I pick Dogthras because it's a very natural point. And I think going from it this way, kind of going top or going bottom up instead of top down, helps you then kind of build a more viable strategy. Because one of the issues is if you pick a deck, and again, if you're trying to sweat, because that's really where it comes down to. If you're trying to be a sweat, and you go, oh, this commander looks cool, I'm going to build around him. But you haven't really thought about, why it's this commander, right? Because I think that's the issue that a lot of players end up having is they pick a commander that does a cool thing, but there's almost always a meta commander that does it better, which is why that commander is meta in the first place.
I mean, so many people ask themselves, right, well, I tried to build this deck, I tried to build this 4-color pot, why not Blue Farm?
Right.
A lot of questions just come back to, why am I not running Blue Farm?
And that's why I think building it this way makes sense, right? Because if you're saying, I'm more comfortable playing in a pile, I want to win with Breach, but I'm not super comfortable with black spells. So I want to pick Jeskai. Well, there's plenty of viable Breach Jeskai commanders that you can build around, right? And do just fine. And that's why I think picking that is fine, because then you're not locked into this question of, well, no, not Blue Farm. But let's say, for example, I decide I want to play Grixis, and I really want to play Nekusar. It comes a question of, why do I want to play Nekusar?
Yeah.
Why would I play Nekusar, which is a subpar CEDH strategy, over a Roxai, over a Malcolm Vile, over a Kafka, right? All three significantly more viable CEDH decks in the meta than Nekusar is right now. Now, again, this is why picking your color identity can be important. Picking how you want to win is important. And then kind of the second part of picking off of your color identity is picking what you want your commander to do. Like we said in last week's episode, all commanders have 7-ish tiers that you pick from. And certain players are more comfortable with their commanders doing certain things, right? There is no such thing as a perfect commander or a perfect deck for that matter, right? Everyone's going to tell you, like, I think I saw the rhetoric was out there for a while. Why not play Blue Farm? Oh, you should just be playing Blue Farm.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe. Sorry, let me rephrase that. I believe certain players are going to do great on Blue Farm. I think a lot of players can pick up Blue Farm, do perfectly well on it. I've long advocated that if you're going to get into this format and learn it, Blue Farm is a great, if not the best starting point to learn because it teaches you everything you need to know about CEDH. It teaches you the most common win conditions in Breach and Thoracle. Mm-hmm. It gives you tons of interaction to work with and begin to practice how and where to interact. And it's got a very deep suite of interaction. Mm-hmm. It teaches you how Necro and Nas work, which are, again, are huge key aspects to CEDH. It doesn't require a ton of politicking comparatively. Like if you're playing a green deck, you have to politic your booty off. Tim Necrom's, almost specifically, gets away with it a little differently. So it's a place where you can get your feet wet without having to jump right into how to politic aggressively. It's like, okay, I can kind of sit back, learn the format. It's got a very linear game plan of like, I want to develop a Rhystic or a Tithe or some other really strong draw engine and then kind of go from there. Mm-hmm. It's very forgiving of mistakes because no matter what happens, you can always fall back on Timna, and she's an excellent floor to start from. Mm-hmm. And I think overall it's a very forgiving, very powerful deck, and that makes it perfect for teaching new players.
And your win cons are super efficient as well.
Right.
Like TNT is win cons. It's like what?
Be a little bit more convoluted.
What are we going for in any given game, right?
The decision tree is so extensive in TNT, it can be a little overwhelming for newer players.
Exactly. It's like infinite mana in X number of ways, and that's overwhelming.
Right.
But Blue Farm is value until breach. Try to breach protected if you can.
And Kinnan requires a ton of politicking.
Yes.
And understanding
yes, it does.
Where and how to do that correctly and where to push your wins through in a world where you don't have silence effects, which again TK also has access to, which makes your wins a lot easier to pull off as well.
Kinnan's also Simic, so you can't necessarily tutor for everything that you need, so it's less forgiving of like mulligans and those early decisions, and Blue Farm is more forgiving of stuff like that, because tutors will give you an out. Right.
So the point though is if you want your commander to do very specific things, right? If you're more comfortable with your commander producing mana, if you need the floor of your commander drawing cards, to feel like you're comfortable playing that deck, then that helps also kind of define the strategy, right? If you're like, okay, I'm a Dimir deck, I want to play Dimir. I love Dimir. I want to play Dimir. I love Thoracle. And now I need to figure out a commander that works for me. And I really want a commander that draws cards. We only have a couple of choices at that point, right? It really narrows you down to like Talion and a couple of like really subpar commanders. But then it lets you then analyze, instead of you having to analyze every CEDH deck that's out there under the sun and be like, oh, well, I don't know, I'm overwhelmed with choice. Mm-hmm. And now let you go, oh, okay, this is the commander because he's the top tier of what I'm doing. Yeah, he might be a little fringe, or, Talion's not as good as he used to be. But you have a viable CEDH commander that's probably the best in your colors, that does the thing you want it to do. And this lets you break up stuff kind of nicely in a way that, you might not have. So, like, here's a good example, too. Like, I really want a toolboxy commander, and I'm picking Teamer. Roggrass is not super toolboxy.
No.
It can be built that way, but generally it's more of a proactive shell that's trying to do the cradle thing. But let's say I want, you can pick something like Loot, where it's a little bit more toolboxy. Mm-hmm. You kind of decide what your commander is going to do, right? And I think picking the categories and, like, ticking off the boxes of, I need my commander to be a mana engine and to draw cards and to be a beater, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the three things I need my commander to have to be comfortable playing this game. For me personally, I just need my commander to draw cards and be an outlet. I like having a commander that's an outlet. Now, I've been stressing that with Terra lately, which is cheap, access to colors, kind of a card advantage. I mean, the mill is not nothing. Right. I've won a lot actually because of that mill.
You have.
But it's not necessarily traditional card advantage. And if I put her on the battlefield and she just sits there, I get nothing else. Which, does happen.
Yeah.
So, though people do block her, and when they do, oh, thank God, I get to go again.
People got to stop letting you get away with this.
Be surprised how often this happens.
I know.
So yeah, I think that helps narrow down the giant decision that picking a commander can feel, because it can be daunting.
It can be.
Yeah. So yeah, with those categories, I believe you can find your CEDH deck. It's not a perfect system at all. Like, I think between identifying it and then kind of going through each of these steps of like, okay, I know what my goal is. I want to win. I like Breach. I want to play in 4 colors because I want I want to play 5 color, let's say. So I want the highest access to cards. And then it kind of just comes down to determining your decks. Looking through EDH Top 16 really helps because it does identify what the top decks kind of are. Again, if you're just here to have fun, it doesn't matter what you pick, right? If you're here because you really love your pet deck, whatever that pet deck is. But as I've heard again and again, winning is great. Losing sucks. It's just the way it is, right? Like, I think it's really easy to say I want to be the guy who takes down a tournament on X deck, whatever that deck is. Because I've heard this a lot. And then I've seen the look on their faces as they get so close. Sometimes you top 16, sometimes you top 4, but every time coming up just short of winning the event. And then it's like, and then, you don't make it back to that top 4 for a while. And then you get back to top 4 and then you still lose again. And it's just like this constant cycle, this vicious cycle of constantly, I'm almost there and I just don't get there.
That was you beating your head against the wall on Marnius
for a bit. And that's why I know so much about how vicious this cycle can be, right? Because eventually I just got tired of it and I switched to Turbo Nagila, where I finally had more success. Finally top 4 to my first gold event. Finally won my first tournament. All that was on Nagila, right? And that was really key to me of like getting over the hump finally of CEDH. Because Marnius, I felt like I was doing really well locally. And then I take it to any decent sized event and I just get trashed every single fucking time. Like, ugh. So I don't want that to be everyone here. I really want you guys to be able to identify the decks that end up making sense for you. So once you've identified CEDH deck, you've met your goals. You've identified, what win cons you want to do. What colors are you most comfortable in, and what your strategy ultimately that you want your commander to do within the categories we outlined last week, ultimately then lets you kind of narrow down this list to something very specific. It's because, okay, like let's go through an example of one, right? So I want to win. That's all I care about. I want to win the tournament. I'm most comfortable on infinite draw engines or like Stormy style engines. Sorry, we skipped one. I want to be more turbo slanted. I want my commander to be more of Storm turbo oriented. That's what I always played in 60 card. I was a big Ruby Storm player. I want to. None of this is true. I was never a Ruby Storm player. But for the sake of this argument, right? I was a big 60 card player. I want to run Ruby Storm or the closest thing I can to in CDH. That is where I am most comfortable. I look at the colors. I'm like, it looks like blue-red is the best Storm style deck.
Right.
Well, then I look at the commanders that are Storm commanders. There's 2 that are viable CEDH decks for winning. Ral, Vivi. And then I decide I'm going to pick Ral because Ral has the higher winning percentage right now. And I've identified the deck I want to do, right? This is, again, it's not foolproof. Nothing we're talking about on here is foolproof. But the idea here is that it does set a foundation for you to begin to develop your decks more consistently. Where you're not lingering out there going, I don't know what deck to bring. Maybe it's this deck. Maybe it's that deck. So here's a good example, right? This weekend, I am stuck between Terra and TNT. Honestly, I just top 4 to Terra. But TNT is the deck I've had most of my CEDH success on.
Right.
So I'm really stuck on which deck to bring this weekend. So going through kind of my system, right? I've identified what each of the decks are good at. TNT draws cards. It's cheap. It's in great colors. It will never be a beater deck. Like, I'm not going to damage a lot of people. But I have an outlet in the command zone. Right. So I have 5 things. It doesn't do a busted thing necessarily. Like, it's all pretty generic. But that's kind of their criteria. Terra, on the other hand, is 5 color, which is great colors. It's cheap also, which is good. It does give me some form of card advantage. Again, milling isn't the best card advantage. It's significantly less card advantage-ier than Timna Thrasios. But it's there, so we can count it. Doesn't really do a busted thing. Like getting an enchantment out of your graveyard on the middle 5 is fine. Again, not super busted. It's kind of a beater. It's a 4/2, so it can do some damage. And you can flip it into a 6/6. And its backside can be kind of good if you have stuff that it can work with. Like I flipped it to make a second copy of Smothering Tithe when I was wheeling, which is funny. It's super expensive though. It's like 6 mana, and it only can be activated as sorcery, and you have to tap her to do it. So there's some downsides to it. So like I'm comparing them. Like TNT clearly is better when you're looking at the checklist, right? But then I go to the next part of it, right? I'm picking my deck. I want to win. Both these decks are winning decks, right? They're not to have fun with. I mean, they are fun. That's why I like playing them. But I'm here to sweat. I'm a sweaty guy. The strategy then is where these really differentiate. Do I want to run turbo, which is more Terra slanted, or do I want to run mid range? I think for this weekend specifically, it's going to be a lot of the Rogish bullshit. I just know it is.
Yeah.
And that deck is very control-y, which means turbo is going to struggle this weekend, which means naturally I should be playing more mid rangey because mid range can get under, in theory, that deck. So just by that decision alone, I've left Terra, right? Because now I just adopt my TNT list to beat this ridiculous meta, which is probably running like Aura Shards. And I've looked at Haywire Might in the deck and bringing Force of Vigor back.
Fair enough.
These aren't great options, and I'm going to keep debating on different stuff I can do. But looking at it, like I think those are the best options.
Right.
They're all very easy, very good to hit stuff. And I like that Haywire Might can just sit there, and I can still allow Rhystic Studies to be played. But as soon as someone starts copying one, I can go 2-for-1 on it and take out both the Rhystic and the copy.
Right.
If there's not anything else to copy. But shit, they can copy a fucking... If it's a Mirror Maid, they can copy a Soul Ring rather than another Rhystic. I'm okay with that. So... That, and you guys can see, I went through the process and I was able to pick the deck for this weekend. Now, if I do think Turbo is better, then I get, I can go more Terra slanted.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't want to go 5 color. Maybe I want to go 3 color. Then I go right side. I just drop the light part.
True.
Right? So I think it's easier to build your decks this way. Again, it won't be foolproof. It's not going to be perfect for you, but the idea here is to help you make a decision when you're stuck looking at all the different strategies that are out there. And again, starting from the bottom and debating your style, your win con, and then your color, and then picking the strategy that ultimately makes sense to you, right? Because I think if you start with the commander, you get too bogged down on building around the commander instead of building a good CEDH deck through your commander. A couple of caveats I want to add before we go into our questions and end this topic. Net decking is fine. Net decking is great. You should net deck. There's literally zero shame in it. Everybody does it. If anyone tells you they built their deck completely from scratch, they're full of shit. There's no such thing anymore. There's just not. We start with a foundation that exists from something. Every player who's entered this format has learned how to play this game from other players. We all started, unless you started in 1993, you brought some form of experience into this game. And your experiences are shaped by the players around you. So it's impossible for a player entering today, or really any of the big names that are out there, to say, oh, I built a deck original from scratch. My tree farm list is not original. It is an amalgamation of a bunch of other lists. NBC Kitten, not special. It is an amalgamation of a bunch of lists. And honestly, Waffle's not the first person to do the copy Rhystic study. I literally saw, I think it was Isaac, actually. Maybe it wasn't Isaac. Maybe it was somebody else. No, I'm pretty sure it was Isaac. Literally had this list at Cowtown before the bans and was copying Rhystic studies like crazy, if I remember correctly. And I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. And even the term NBC has been around forever. I think Memo started that, but I've even seen some that it could have predated Memo. So there's a lot of borrowing in this format, taking from 60 card, learning our lessons as we go. A player might discover a card that helps refine a strategy, but again, every strategy has been, at this point, explored, utilized. It just might be retweaked or reframed or heck, even just reintroduced sometimes on old tech that just kind of came back around. So nothing's original. It's still fine in net deck. Learn from net decking. I suggest every single time picking a deck, not touching any of the cards in it for like 20 to 30 games. Play as many games as you can in a reasonable amount of time, and then make your changes. Like I said earlier, there's no such thing as a perfect deck. There's only a perfect deck for you, which means every deck, no matter how busted or good it is or how great the best pilot in the world says it is, doesn't matter. It might not fit your playstyle, and that's okay, right? Some players get by on things like politicking and really aggressive mulligans that other players are not comfortable doing, right? Some people don't want to aggressively politic. Some people are uncomfortable going down to 4 and 5 cards, and they like being at 6 and 7. And so when you're doing it that way, that's fine. Just understand that the deck is designed for one specific person. That person designed it for themselves. My tree farm list was designed for me specifically. It's designed exclusively around my playstyle. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean it's bad deck? No. But that does mean that every player that picks it up probably needs to adapt it at some point to their own personal playstyle.
Very true.
So, I think we'll leave it there. We could probably discuss this for hours and hours and hours. Deck picking is not an exact science, but we do hope this helped you identify your decks. And now I guess we get to questions.
Yep.
All right, Lily. So first question.
Yep. So one off of your phone here because it's actually off Spotify. So I think this is a first for our Spotify questions, but feel free to leave them if you guys want to. This is from Jonas Buckner. I have a question for a future episode. As a pilot of a deck with really convoluted win lines, how do you manage table perception? My board often looks scary even when it isn't. For example, I play Lumra, and even when I explain my lines and try to downplay my position, I still draw a lot of hate, either because people don't understand the lines or because they assume I'm a strong player. How do you deal with that?
This is a tough one.
It is.
Because players do misplay into decks they don't understand.
They do.
We saw this a lot with Time, really, because people know, like, the Time thing is like, they're like, I kind of know it needs creatures, so I'll just kill everything, and I won't have to worry about it. Or I'll kill Time, even before Time's really set up.
Right.
It kind of goes the opposite way, too, where decks like Arkham Daxon, people don't really know how they work, and just kind of are like, okay, yeah, and then it wins, and they're like, oh, I didn't realize I need to interact with it so fast.
Right.
So it's kind of this weird in-between. I've seen players literally say, I will tell you when I am winning.
Yeah.
You do not have to eliminate me from the game. I will tell you what my cards are that win me the game, and that's when you should, interact with me. The problem around this is kind of twofold. One, people don't always listen to you anyway. They think you're full of it. Right? Because, it's true.
Why should they believe you?
Exactly. Right.
And that's the thing. You have to have a certain level of trust for the person that's winning, and that's difficult.
So that's problem. That's the problem. Problem number one with that solution. The second problem is I don't want to tell people I'm winning. Personally, I just don't. Do counter me if you want. Right. I think with Lumra specifically, because it is so hard to interact with, that people pick non-optimal windows to interact with it, because as long as they can interact with something, they feel like they're doing something to slow it down, even if they're interacting with nothing. Part of that is misunderstanding of the deck, right? I have basically found that if you can kill an untapper on Lumra's board, they don't do much, generally. That's not always true, but generally speaking, the deck seems to really need its untappers, or it struggles. Aftermath Analyst, of course, is a really big card in the deck. Zuran Orb is a big card in the deck, but the deck really functions better if you've got, the Tiller Engine, aiming a little bigger, Spelunking. Is it just those three? There's probably more. I don't know them all, I'll be honest. But I imagine those are the big ones, right? And then, of course, if you've got, like, the Cave of Urza is really powerful. So I think if you just point out at the beginning, like, hey, I'm Lumra, does everyone know what my deck does? Just say that. Does everyone know what my deck does? And if someone's like, no, I don't really understand Loomer. I don't understand what wins. And you go, okay, I am looking to get to a mirror pool through any way, shape, or form. I don't know if there's other win cons in the Loomer. I have to look at the deck again to remember the full outlet. It's been a while since I read the primer for Lumra. So you just kind of say that, like, my deck is designed to find whatever the outlet is and win. That way, that's not like I'm giving away the secret sauce of how I get there, but this way, if you see that card, you know that I'm scary.
Yeah.
That's one option. I've seen it work too. Again, varying degrees of success. Sometimes people will listen and be like, oh, okay, thank you, appreciate it. And then, they won't really play you the way you want to. I saw, who was it? I think his name was Joe. Did this a lot with Tyam. And again, to varying degrees of success. I saw some games where it blew him, he got blown out anyway. And I saw some games where he got left alone and then was able to do the thing he was going to do.
Yeah.
So that kind of depends. The other option you can do is just kind of take it on the chin, right? Like, that sucks, but also the deck is hard to interact with. So I think more often than not, it's going to go the opposite way, where you're going to get away with nonsense rather than people. Because I think it's twofold, right? If you're playing with the same group, they're just going to blow you out. Eventually, they're either going to learn the deck or they're just going to keep blowing you out till they force you to understand it. If you're playing in tournaments more often, players don't really play like that. I don't feel like players deliberately target decks that they don't understand. I actually find it's the opposite. If they don't understand it, they just ignore it, which is a terrible way to do things as well. Again, that's how Arkham was preying on people for so long because no one knew what that deck does. Now that everyone knows that, kill Arkham or kill the card it's trying to sack and it's kind of dead in the water.
Yeah.
Now that deck kind of, I don't know, it's not dead, but I don't know really how you lose to it.
I mean, typically there's always somebody in the pot, at least a tournament play, right? And if your locals are blowing you out, that's really rough. But in tournament play, I found there's at least one person in the pod who knows what they're doing, what the quote unquote unknown variable is doing. Whether it's because they had somebody from their play group that plays it, they used to main the deck, they've just been around long enough and they know a lot of cards, whatever the case may be, there's generally one person that can say, hey, I know when this is winning, I generally know what's going on. You guys need to look out for XYZ. That's their game plan. And then everyone just kind of goes, oh, okay, cool. Understood.
Yeah, I agree. And again, it really depends on what the situation is. I do think tournament play, it's just not as much of an issue. At least from my experience when I've seen these decks sit down and I don't say anything about them and I watch other players talk about it, I've never seen it to where people are like, oh, I don't really understand what you do. I'm going to blow you up.
Right.
Players just misplay green decks all the time. That's just the nature of playing green, which, we talked about earlier, right? Green is vulnerable to a ton of hate. It is what it is. Even your land deck, right? Where you're not running quite as many dorks, but you're running just enough 1/1s to where, and some good 1/1s as well, to where there's some juicy Bowmaster targets, some juicy Man Devil targets, and you know what? It's the life of playing Lumra, right?
I also think it's okay to explain your lines if you all are staring down losing and people are still dismantling
That's
you.
probably fair.
Right. I still think it is completely acceptable to just say, hey, I need XYZ and I only have the X part of that combo. Yes, this part is a combo piece. However, Blue Farm's actively comboing off, or whatever it is. This person is actively winning, or they've run so far ahead, right? Don't get scared by my board. I'm still 2 or 3 pieces off.
Again, I've seen that happen, work to varying degrees of success. Because sometimes players are I don't know about that. And just blow you out anyway.
I still don't understand. Kill, and then you lose, right? But I think it's at least worth a try. Unless, of course, right? Unless you're just in the winning position, you want to continue to try to slide under the radar, or they're targeting the completely wrong thing, and you go, go for it. But if it's kind of a do or die situation, and you feel like you can kind of rationalize people targeting your board and say, hey, I'm truly not that scary, it's okay to explain your lines, right? You do what you got to do, especially in tournament play. If it's the difference between 0 points and forcing a draw and having 1 point, or going on to win later and getting 5 points, right? It's to not lose in that moment. I think it's okay.
Agreed. All right, want to do next question?
All right, this question comes from our YouTube comments, and it is from Ari Moser 9116. Question for you both. I run a stacks list that isn't meta. It can pull wins, but it's very slow. I have the absolute most reps with it, and it's really oppressive. My question is, should I switch decks? Most of the times I notice when I'm losing, it's because someone plays a board wipe at the wrong time, and either Blue Farm or Rogsai wins under them. It happens way too much, and it's kind of annoying. I have tried to even politic by saying things like, don't board wipe unless you plan to win, and it still usually ends up happening. Second question. How do I get around this?
Like we said earlier in the show, stacks decks suck to play in tournament play. The reality is this is why stacks is so bad, right? Every player wants to get out from under it. Players are going to make bad decisions into it, right? The saying exists, like I said earlier, of the first person to remove a stacks piece always loses, right? Because then all the counter magic becomes online and everyone's been sitting around waiting. This is why I hate rule of law effects. Because every time I play a rule of law effect, I can't get anything through because it just gets countered. And I'm like, great. And then, the next person goes and then their shit gets countered. And then it's like, oh. And then someone eventually
breaks through and wins.
Well, someone eventually pops the piece and then they try to push. And then all the counter magic that everyone's been sitting on anyway goes off.
Yep.
Because in a game like that, there's just nothing that's worth countering because no one's going to put anything worth countering on the stack.
Right.
Because they know they can't defend it.
Right.
So in those type of games, it just gets really stupid.
So should they switch decks?
Yes, 100%. Stacks just doesn't work. Between the current meta, right, of most decks are either one, operating too quickly to fully stacks out. Because a lot of games, when you're running like a prison stacks build, you have to have the right stacks piece at the right time to stop whatever it's doing. Now, some of them are really good universally. Like Dampening Sphere probably feels good at all phases of the game.
Right.
Trinosphere feels good at all phases of the game, as long as your deck can play through it, right? But what if it's something like an Aven Mind Sensor? Feels good early, feels bad later when draw engines are online. Because eventually people just stop needing tutors. They have so many cards.
I've also seen the situation where someone drops a Curse Totem, Kinnan and Rogthras get locked out, Blue Farm just wins the game.
Right.
Or I've seen the opposite where Grafdigger's Cage gets dropped and the Rogsai and the Blue Farm have to sit there and then the Kinnan just runs away with it because they don't care about Grafdiggers.
Well, they kind of do because they're green tutors, but yeah.
But, not compared to the Breach decks, right?
No, 100%.
So.
And that's the problem with playing stacks, right? Is that you have to be very careful with how your pieces deploy. As we said earlier, too, the time issue happens. People are willing to blow you out. People aren't going to defend your stacks pieces, especially with something like a board wipe where it's like removing a bunch of them and everyone gets unlocked. People are like, oh, hey. And again, because the player who always goes first always loses it, a lot of players are willing to let the stacks get bounced or killed, and then it unlocks them to push after the player who's about to start their push.
Exactly.
So it depends on seed order. I would switch. I would switch because people are irrational about stacks in a way that is almost undefinable. Bowmasters really hurt stacks because most stacks pieces happen to be 1/1s or 2/1s or some version of something 1. And even when they're 2, a single Rhystic study comes down and all of a sudden your stacks piece is gone, right? So it's rare to find a stacks piece that's bigger than a 2/2, unfortunately, for the stacks players. So yeah, I would switch decks. I'd switch to something mid-rangey. Or if you want something that's like light stacks, like Esper decks are really decent. Something like Kefka can run a lot of the major stacks pieces in the format right now, like Curse Totem. Can probably run a Dampening Sphere. I don't know why you would, but you could. You could run something like Magda that can run some light stacks.
Magda would be a good option.
Yeah. Well, they can run some actually heavy stacks, some gross stacks because of the ability of Magda. I'm trying to think of other decks that can you could probably build like a control TNT stacksy build. I've seen some control Blue Farm builds that run Curse Totem and stuff.
I say control farms out there.
Yeah.
Control farm's always an option.
So there's options. And honestly, you're in better colors and better win cons. So honestly,
yeah.
Because did they say what stacks deck they were playing?
They did not say that.
Presumably. Hold on, I'm going to guess. Tell me if I'm right. I'm going to say blue-white.
No, guess the commander.
Oh, guess the commander?
Yeah.
They say it's hard stacks?
Ooh, hold on. Let me re-pull this up. I run a stacks list that isn't meta. It can pull wins, but it's very slow.
Never mind. This is the Esper. This is the dungeon guy. It's Sithis. That's my guess. No, not Sithis.
I was going to say, that's Selesnya. What
Who's
are you
the Esper,
talking about?
Who's the Esper dungeon person? Ethris? Hold on. Sephiroth.
There we
It
go.
was Sephiroth. We looked it up.
There we go.
During the intermission break, we looked up Sephiroth. I was close.
That's what you think it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my guess. Tell me if I'm wrong. It was Sephiroth. Mostly because Sephiroth has never been meta, but also did top 4. One major tournament one time. It was the original Open at top 4. In the dock set era, too, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah, I remember
That
that.
was a while ago.
I remember. You're right.
I know, because I also took an No, I took Digila to that.
You did take Najila. You can't claim that.
No, true. Well, no, I wasn't gonna. I was gonna claim how bad I was at that tournament.
You're like, oh man, I sucked.
Yeah, that was rough. I hit so many Nadus that tournament. Oh my god.
We don't need to relive that. We don't need to relive that.
So yeah, I do think Stacks is just in a rough spot, like we kind of talked about earlier on the show.
Yeah.
Now, all that to be said, if you wanted to suffer and continue to play your Stacks deck, the best way around it is you have to get better at politicking. Because your Stacks pieces basically, what I would do if I was playing a Stacks deck is I would mull for the piece that stops the deck that everyone is afraid of at the table first. So what I kind of mean by that is when you sit down, look at the table and identify the most problematic deck outside of yourself quickly. Whether that's the Rogsai because they're going to go first, the Atali because they're going to go first. If it's a Kinnan deck because you're looking at other mid-range decks and Kinnan happens to be the scarier mid-range deck. It's hard to convince people Blue Farm's the problem early. I don't know why. Probably because Blue Farm plays Rhystic and everyone thinks they have time to beat the Rhystic study. They never do. You just don't. It's a bullshit, right? It's a bullshit argument. But people think they can. So your job is to identify which deck is going to end up being the scariest. And the reason behind that is it's very easy to politic a 3v1 where you're the Stacks deck being the good guy Stacks of I'm here to Stacks them out. You two can play your game and I'm going to stop them. Great example of this, right, is my top 16 game at the Forest Fight. I had to remember for a second. The Tivit player plays a Curse Totem quickly, which locks me, Chulane, and Waffle's Kinnan list out. Mm-hmm. Now, Chulane and I were okay with this because Chulane can play around it by just dropping lanes into play. I can play around it because I have Tibna. And we don't need to necessarily care about Thrasios early. Mm-hmm. We can just swing with Tibna and do our thing. Waffle, though, is completely locked out. Waffle is the problem from the very get-go of this pod, right? It's 4 mid-rangey decks. He is the scariest mid-rangey deck here by a mile. Mm-hmm. So because of that, that is a good guy Curse Totem. The only time that Curse Totem got removed that entire game, I had the removal for that Curse Totem on like turn 2. I did not remove that Curse Totem until I absolutely had to, and guess what? Freaking
still lost.
Well, that's my point. The person who removes it always loses.
Yep.
The problem was we had to remove it because Waffle needed to tap something to stop the
Tivit player's win attempt.
Right, which was like,
right.
And I knew it. I knew as soon as I should have just made a deal because I could have stopped. Them and won. But whatever. Lesson learned. My point though is if you try to make your Stacks deck off as like the good guy deck, right? You solved kind of 2 problems. One, you can probably pick the right Stacks piece because I think people really struggle with Stacks decks. Now, assuming you're an experienced Stacks player, because you're asking this. But I'm sure you've noticed, right? People do pick wrong Stacks pieces for pods. How many of us have seen a Blood Moon come down against red decks or decks that don't care? I have.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of times.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, really, bro? Really? I'm the only one locked out of this game now? Thanks. Appreciate you. Or like, just funny. I just had a game where someone played a Deafening Silence, and it was creature deck, Blue Farm. So Blue Farm's out of the game.
Yeah.
Now, was that correct? Yes. Blue Farm is the most annoying deck at that table, in my opinion, because it was myself and TNT, Dog Thras, and Winota. I think Winota is the one who played the Deafening Silence. Mm. So I think that's a correct play because I do think out of the 4 of those decks, T and K is going to go first. Mm. Right? Dog Thras being a tad bit slower than Rog Thras. Now, if Rog Thras is in that spot, I think it's a different conversation. Okay. Because I think Rog Thras is faster than T and K traditionally wants to go. Okay. Depends on the T and K. Like some of them I know will turbo out of Nas or Necro as quickly as they can. But traditionally, they want to play the Rhystic Study and chill. Especially into a 3 blue pod. Right. Three blue decks. Winota does probably change that equation a little bit, but and being in seat 4, I think Blue Farm was also in seat 4. So, like, it was like a rough spot for them.
That's not their game.
Right. And that's where it's like, hey, was the Deafening Silence really the right play? It turned out, yes, it was. They definitely won on turn 2 if they had played Deafening Silence. Yeah, he had breach and everything ready to go.
Oh, no.
So, that's why. And he tried. It was Stacko, actually. He tried so hard to talk him out of playing that. He's like, just wait. He's like, give me one turn and then you play your Deafening Silence.
I mean, now that you're yapping so hard about it, I'm going to cast it.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly what the Winota player is like. He's like,
That's a little suspicious.
Because I think he played it on turn 2. And so Stag was just trying to get to his turn 2 to jam his win.
No.
If I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that, but if I remember correctly, that's what it was. And I was like, dang.
Yeah, that's rough.
So, and hey, I'm fine with Deafening Silence. Dogfast is fine with Deafening Silence. So, like, we were cool with that. Mm-hmm. And that Deafening Silence stayed out until Stack was trying to push open, I think. And then it got bounced.
Yep.
And then we drew. So, as you do at an invitational.
As you do at naturally. You don't know how to win games.
But that's kind of my point of you try to be the good guy, Stacks. And I think that's the only way you can play Stacks. Now, once you create the prison dilemma of like, oh, I've stacked everybody out now, and now everyone's stuck under like layered Stacks pieces, now you don't have to care, right? And I've seen that before where it's like, here's my Dranith with my Grafdigger's Cage with my Curse Totem. Mm-hmm. Now everybody's fucked. Mm-hmm. All across the board. Doesn't matter what deck you're playing. You're probably boned in some way, shape, or form. So now you don't have to play the good guy. You can just, whatever your win con is. Like, I think Suffress was some kind of dungeon running beats thing. I don't know. Wow. Deck's old, and I don't care to look it up. I'll be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now for question number 3.
Yep. Third question. How do you guys, this is from Dave GZZZ in our Discord. How do you guys go about intentional practice, either in the team setting or solo, to work on different skills? As someone who doesn't have a local CEDH scene, I find it hard to have meaningful practice sessions to develop myself as a player.
Yeah, so for the team, for Monolith, we do practice on Wednesdays. We have, we'll obviously make our pod. And then we have an observer who watches the game, takes notes, and then provides feedback to the players. And we kind of have like an open feedback session both during and after the game to kind of talk through decision making and lines and stuff like that. The idea here is that, players see the games different ways, and we kind of want to encompass as much feedback as possible so that we can improve our own lines, right? Mm-hmm. Just because I don't see something doesn't mean that somebody else didn't see something that they can improve upon.
Right.
Or, I may have missed something and I didn't catch it in the moment, and someone else, the observer, caught it and wrote it down and then tells me after the game, oh, hey, you could have done this. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, shit. Right? Because no matter how good of a player you are, there's always something to learn. I fuck up all the time. All the time. It's ridiculous, right? Like,
especially when it comes down to World Breach.
So this weekend, great example. As I said earlier, right? Completely punted a pod on a pretty, should have been easy win. It's like the third time I've fucking exiled a Bowmaster when I could have won with it under a breach. So, at the 20K CCS, right? I forgot about the card Shifting Woodlands. Just forgot about it. Never crossed my mind. It was like, hey, this is the card to win the game right here. What is it? At, obviously, the Invitational, the second Invitational, right? I freaking Force of Willed a card I shouldn't have Force of Willed. The Force of Will heard around the world. Whatever, right? I make mistakes all the time. So I'm constantly learning, and getting feedback from my fellow players helps me learn my lines, learn, where I could optimize in areas that I haven't caught already.
Right.
So that's how we practice. Before that, I practiced with just a group of friends, and we just play and jam as much as possible. The more you jam, the more you are going to pick up all the little nuances of your deck, all the little tricks and tips and stuff. It's how I learned that my deck had an alternate win con that I didn't even know about, which was using a Boro with, this is for TNT, using a Boro with, oh shoot, why am I forgetting the name of it now? The stupid one in a green. The guy who makes an insect. But if you landfall, he makes...
Springheart and Tuco?
Thank you. God,
why do I know that?
I don't know. Springheart and Tuco. I figured out a line with Springheart and Tuco where you infinitely, do the stupid Talon Gates thing, and if you put them on a Thoracle, make infinite Thoracles, which is really funny. Or do the same thing for Bowmaster, make infinite Bowmasters. Really funny. So that's like the kind of like weird little niche tricks you can do. Because like I think I'd lost. I don't remember why I had to make infinite Thoracles. Maybe because I thought somebody had something at the end of the combo, but I couldn't remove it or something. Maybe it was like a land or something, and I didn't have access to Besage again, or I don't remember why. I figured out in a weird niche scenario because I needed an alternate way to win. Oh, you know what it was? I couldn't access Thrasios, but I had Thoracle in hand. That's what it was.
Okay.
I had Springheart on the board. I was doing the loop, and I was like, I don't know how to win from here.
Right.
Because I did not have a way to get to Thrasios, and I had no way to draw cards, and I had no way to bounce the stacks piece.
Right.
I think it was a Drannith, and I just had no way to remove Drannith. No, it couldn't have been Drannith because I had the Talon Gates. Had to have been Cursed Totem. I think that's exactly what it was Cursed Totem. So I had no way to get rid of the Cursed Totem.
Love
And
that
so
card.
I might have had Thrash on board, but I couldn't activate anything.
Right.
No, because that doesn't make sense either, because then I had the Aboro. So what could it have been?
The point is, you didn't have Thrasios.
Maybe it was a Disruptor Flute on my Thrasios. That's actually, I think, what it was. Or a piece that named... I don't remember. Something. Some weird niche... Again, I said niche for a reason, right? Niche scenario where I had to find a way to win with Thoracle in my hand and the inability to draw through my deck. And I found the Springheart and Tuco line. And I was like, oh, wait. When my Blue Devotion equals 1,000,000, it's greater than what's in my deck. And I remember the Pods look, right? Because everyone was like, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm winning. So I think they all thought they stopped me. Because I was like, I don't know what to do from here. I have infinite mana in all my colors.
My favorite line of yours from this weekend. Guys, I'm in such a bad spot. It's like 2 Rhystic studies. That's what that reminds me of.
No, that's not the game where I said I was in a bad spot.
Oh no, that's the one you're like, I just have mana in my hand.
That's true. That's all I had in my hand was mana.
That's true. At the time you said it, it was true. And then you drew a demonic tutor. And you stopped saying it.
Right, that's when I had 3 Rhystic studies. I only had mana when I had 3 Rhystic studies.
Yeah.
No, the game where I said I was in a bad spot was the game where I was trying to twist or loop. That's where I was in a bad spot.
You weren't in a bad spot. You overcooked yourself into a bad spot.
Either
At
way.
the point you were winning, you were not in a bad spot.
Whatever. It quickly went from winning to not winning. Fucking Breach, bro.
I love Breach.
I've lost so many games with the Breach. Both for and against.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so then the idea here is find a group of people, online or in person, that you are trying to practice for specifically tournament prep. Mm-hmm. The Crit League is great for specific things. I think it's great for practicing your lines. I think it's great for understanding how a CEDH pod can potentially look like. But I've played enough games in there and seen enough games played in there to know that it does not give you a good feel for a tournament. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this on the show. The issue with leagues, and this is not unique to the Critical League, not at all. The issue with leagues is you can play again. Like, that seems weird, but because tournaments are very limited on how many games you can play within that set tournament, and every round matters, right? You can't take a round off in CEDH. I'm sure there's some tournaments out there you could probably take a round off and it doesn't matter. But like in CEDH specifically, taking a round off can be a death sentence. And so every round matters. Everything that you're doing matters. There is no, like, even taking intentional draws feels so bad sometimes because it's just like, great. Because like then I fall further down the standings, which affects where I place. And I mean, I hate drawing. I'll do it if I have to, if there's no other way around it. But like, I hate it.
I think if leagues are the only place that you can play, right? Online.
Right.
I mean, primarily online, then, because we've had some questions on here where it's like, hey, I have absolutely no local scene, and I'm sure that's common around so many places.
So instead of playing in a league, though, what I would personally do is find a group of like-minded individuals somewhere on the thousands of CEDH Discords that there are and say, hey, I'm interested in creating a tournament testing group. Mm-hmm. Find your friends, find people you've met at tournaments, find whatever, like-minded people who are there to tournament test. And that way, when you're playing, you know that people have a very specific goal of they're practicing for a tournament. They're trying to prep as if it was a tournament. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to do stupid shit that you see in like a league because they can't just roll up a next game, right? If you're practicing with the purpose expressly for tournament play and you cultivate a very good tournament practice group, then that's where you get better as a player.
Right. But if for some reason you don't do that, right? Like if the league is your only option or
Then the league's fine. It's a fine substitute.
Right. But what I was going to say is if that is your only option, then practice intentionally in the sense that, you know, one night you say, I'm just going to work on my mulligans, and you just work on mulliganing the best that you can. And then you say, okay, my sequencing is going to be the best that it can be. And no matter what off the wall, like BS you see online, off meta, on meta, no matter what you see, try to sequence the best that you can and just work about going through everything intentionally and just controlling your game plan the best that you can, regardless of whatever circumstances that you're in.
The league is probably good practice for the Swiss Swamp.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Swiss Swamp is what happens when you lose a couple games and you fall to the bottom of the rankings and start playing against players that are, to be fair, probably less experienced, newer to the format, playing some off-the-wall, weird decks that you will never, ever see again. Like one-of-ones, right? You will play this deck exactly one time in your entire CEDH career, and it'll be because you fell down in the rankings. Mm-hmm. Lily and I are no strangers to this. We've both been at the bottom of the rankings.
Yep.
I played against a no-shit dragon, full of dragon Tiamat. Like, not food chain Tiamat, not turbo Tiamat, no shit, dragon tribal, you know, Commander, Sphere, and all Tiamat, and it almost beat us. It actually came this fucking close to beating us because I blew myself out. I got endurance by fucking Kinnan, of course. While I was trying
continues.
While I was trying to Thoracle Consult, Kinnan had one card in hand.
It's always endurance, bro.
And I was like,
it's always endurance.
I was like, surely it's not. He had plenty of mana, right? Like he had nothing going on. He got blown so hard out.
Right.
So I was like, surely, Kinnan doesn't have it. They always fucking have it.
Always fucking have it.
So then, and Obnix was blown out. Mm-hmm. Like, Obnix mulled low, missed their land drop, and said, oh, I'm out of the game. So,
damn.
Obnix was down bad.
Right.
So, literally, I'm blown out. Kinnan is down bad. Literally cardless. Obnix has got nothing going on. Because Kinnan and I basically just 1v1'd each other. Mm-hmm. We ignored the Tiamat player the entire game. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden... Tiamat comes down and we're like, uh-oh. And then all the dragons started coming down and all of a sudden we were both taking like 25 damage a turn and we were like, wait. I cannot lose to Timmy Tiamat here.
That's crazy.
And it was the funniest part was it was being piloted by like a 12-year-old kid.
No.
And he's still beating the shit out of us. I'm literally... The only reason we drew that game and didn't lose is because I happened to top deck the last card of my deck, which happened to be a Swords to Plowshares. Mm. And I literally convinced him. I was like, look, we lose to Kinnan if I Swords it. Because Kinnan ended up finding Basalt, playing Basalt, and then doing as many Kinnan activations as they could not find the win.
So they passed.
So it was either, I literally forced the draw by saying, you can kill Kinnan.
Yep.
But if I sword your Tiamat, you can't kill Kinnan anymore. He would not have had enough damage to push through. Kinnan probably wins with Basalt. Or...
we can just draw here. We can all be cool.
Because I was like, if you kill Kinnan, then you just turn around and kill me on the very next go around. And there's nothing. There's no... I'm out of cards.
Right.
Right? So, like... I was the deal I was going to make. I was like, other than... Like, if you don't take this deal, I sword you and I let Kinnan win. I was like, that's it. That's all I got. That's all I've got left in the arsenal. I'm out of cards. I'm dead next turn no matter what you do. You can look at me with you can mean mug me and I die.
That's funny.
So like, what a terrible, terrible game. But that just kind of showed you, right? It's any given game. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, why practicing for intentionality matters.
Yeah.
So, hope we answered the question. Even though there's a long tangent in there. Meta Watch.
Meta Watch.
Or Meta Breakdown, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. For this week, we are doing... So we looked at some different metas. We looked... there's some big tournaments this weekend, but we really wanted to look, mostly because it's just the place where a lot of really good CEDH is played in Ohio.
Yeah.
So we looked at the Ohio EDH Highlander 2 event. This event... is unique in the events we've looked at recently in how ununique it is. If that makes sense. We've looked at a lot of unique lists lately. I feel like every breakdown has been like super unique list number 1 through 6. And that's kind of why we didn't want to look at Albuquerque, because it was super unique decks all around. So instead we decided to look at this one. Barry won with Kinnan, so good job, Barry.
Yep.
Then you had Rockthras,
Yep.
Dargo, and Kinnan. So this was Lily's Hell Pod, which is even funnier.
That's awful. Kinnan, Rogthrat. No. Like, Timna Dargo is the only cool deck there. I mean, sorry to this top 4. Good job, I guess. But like, good job running green.
But this was so like I said, it's a lot of meta decks, right? You had the Ragia Shy list, which I think is cemented itself as the meta deck now. You're going to see that deck a lot more.
Yep.
Timnacroms, what was there? 3 of them. You had, again, the 2 Rogthrases. You had a Rogsai, 2 Rogsais, sorry. 2 Timnadargos, a Magda.
Is that a Tyam I see?
There is a Tyam. The only kind of unique-ish decks, and you can argue really how unique Tyam is. But I think, like, Tyam sees play. It's a viable CEDH deck. So it's not like it's fringy.
Yeah.
Dina's fringy. This is the fringiest deck that
Probably
made the top
the
16.
spiciest thing in top 16, yeah.
And then Cooper top 16 on Malcolm Vile. So
Love to see it.
Yeah, I know you're excited about that one.
Love to see my baby out there.
So like some very interesting decks. Also, what was interesting is this is a 5-rounder for 90 people. Is that right? Is it supposed to be 5?
I believe so. I believe it is.
I thought it's supposed to be 6 past 64.
No. Past 64 is
Cut to 16. It's 5 cut to 16 instead of 10.
Right.
That's weird to me.
It is weird to me. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
There's a
Still
time
getting
sitting at
used
7.
to that.
There's a time sitting outside 17th.
I saw that.
Yeah. Oh, this is the one a B played. Oh, okay. That's a very TNT record. 1 win, 2 losses, 2 draws.
That is a very TNT record.
No, it'd have been
good job, B.
1-1-3 is a very TNT record.
1-1-3?
Yeah.
That's
3
fair.
draws. I think 2 losses is a high for a TNT list.
I think 0-1-4 is a very TNT record.
No, we get 1 win. We always find 1. Finding the second one is really hard.
1-0-4.
No, I still think it's 1-1-3. You know how many 1-1-3s I've had in my career? So fucking many.
That's fair.
Especially 5-rounders.
That's fair.
I still feel like it should be 6. We're going to look this up because 6 for 90 feels more right to me.
No, I don't think it's 6 yet. I don't think it makes the threshold.
I don't know. I just don't like 5-round tournaments. I don't like 6-round tournaments though either.
I don't like 5 cut to 10. 5 cut to 16 is acceptable. This tournament makes sense to me. 5 cut to 10.
Is that because you constantly bubble out?
It is because I constantly bubble out.
Lily is almost always, when we do a cut to 10, she's almost always 11 or 12. It's the funniest thing.
No, it's not fun. It's genuinely not funny. It's
really
genuinely frustrating.
It's both frustrating and funny. It's funny to watch play out a lot. It's not funny in the moment.
I hope you bubble out at the boil for this exact conversation right here.
The pattern of you bubbling out constantly at 11 and 12, it is a little humorous after a while.
No.
The fact you've done it like 10 times in the past year is a little humorous.
Thank you, Jordan.
You're welcome. I'm going to stand on
For your lovely insights.
I'm going to stand my ground here. But yeah, what's cool, like I said, I think it was unique because of how meta the format was. Not surprising. Like we've talked about before, Ohio is the place of really, really good players. You had Andy, Ty, Dexter, and those are just the people I know. I'm sure there's other really strong players in this top 16 that I just don't know who you are. But, like Kyle Shape. I know Kyle is a really good player too.
I'm also pretty sure I have talked to the Rockthras player, Irving, in person as well. So shout out to you.
I feel like I've talked to some of these players too.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean,
Like Zach Shepard looks...
We interact with the Ohio meta frequently enough, right? Like you're right. There are so many good players out there. I'm not surprised that this is the most meta top 16 that we've evaluated on this show so far in Ohio. Like that's not surprising at all.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good players. Like if you go down and look, there's a lot of good players who did not, like Ian Loesch did not make top 16. Abi didn't make top 16.
I mean, it's a tough meta out there. That's not surprising.
It's
when
very
every
tough.
pod that you sit at could foreseeably be a top 16 pod, yeah, it's rough going out there.
Yeah. So interesting meta, and how uninteresting it was. So, because we saw like a bunch of Kinnan, a Ragisha, it does lead to the discussion that
The Rhystic study question.
we didn't want to talk about this too much because we could be here for hours debating this. Mm-hmm. But because it was a question that was posed, and I think Higher did release survey results, like I think 2,500 results.
Yep.
50-50 split.
Yeah.
It was like almost exactly
almost
50.
dead 50-50. Which is insane work.
I was surprised because I thought it would be closer to 75 or 70, 25, 30, right?
In favor of
banning. Of ban. Yeah. I thought the ban was significantly more popular than it ended up being.
I do think, and I don't know where I had seen this said, but it's really only a popular talking point on Twitter, and people love to get on the internet and shit on it on Twitter. But if you get down to like your average CEDH player, they don't want it banned. And I think.
Do you think it depends on how many times you've played against the Raga Shire Kinnan lists? No. Like, if you haven't played against those lists a lot, you're fine with Rhystic Study because it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. But if you've played against them a lot, then you're like, get that shit out of here.
I don't think so.
I'd be curious.
Not necessarily.
I wonder if his survey collected by region, I don't know if it harvested that data, but if it could have. Because I do wonder, because like Texas, where Jace plays, or right. California, where Zach plays, like, and those two being some of the originators of the list.
Right.
And somewhere out like west, like Waffle, and the tournaments he goes to, like, is there a correlation between players who've played in events with these players versus players who have not? Mm-hmm. And, do the people who had to play me in the top 16, do they hate Rhystic Study?
They probably hate Rhystic Study. But 3 is asinine, let's be clear.
That's the point of
that should not happen.
That's the point of the NBC thing.
That needs to be the test pod for why Rhystic Study needs to go.
Imagine if they would have just made Rhystic Study legendary. Would have been a non-issue.
Honestly, I think so, right? Because I'm personally, right, like that poll is my brain on the issue. Like I'm so 50-50 on the issue and I go back and forth on it so hard. I think I lean more towards the ban camp than the non-ban camp.
See, I think I'm the opposite. I think I lean more towards the not ban than the ban.
Yeah. However, I would like to know why people fall where they fall. Is it kind of a they've been traumatized by it thing? Because I think your pod is kind of what took me from Rhystic neutral to maybe we should ban this. And so is the correlation there would be interesting.
My issue...
I don't think it's an everybody thing, though.
I think my biggest issue with Rhystic Study, or like the discussion on Rhystic Study, is it always seems to come down to... It's not even that it's a powerful card, I feel like. A lot of times people are discussing it under these like different guises of like, oh, it's annoying to play against, or oh, it creates bad tournament play. Yeah, there's some talk about it being powerful. My issue is it's just going to be something else powerful, right? I think clones are more the issue. They always have.
I agree.
Dockside was the same way. Then it came around, it was always copying Dockside. And then when Nadu came out, it was all about copying Nadu as much as you could, right? Like, you tried to clone the Nadu that was on the board.
No.
Yes, 100%.
Not as bad as Dockside or Study.
Well, it wasn't as bad as Dockside. Nothing is ever going to be as bad as Dockside.
Because most decks can't capitalize on it, right? You have a Nadu, great. Are you running a Shuko for the Nadu
No, but you just gained so much value off of it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, like, a lot of decks ended up running Nadu in the 99. Derevi, TNT, even the Gila lists were experimenting with it. Everyone was trying to figure out how to bust Nadu because it was so busted.
Valid. I do think clones are the issue. For sure.
Yeah, because it's a singleton format, and you basically get access to 4 of a card.
Exactly.
With clones kind of being the way they are. And there's so many now, and they keep printing more. Flash photography was a mistake, I believe. Like 100%.
And that leads to the trigger-heavy games that people complain about, that leads to the type of tournament play that people complain about.
But I'm still... And that's where I get mixed on it, right? Because... I've played enough games at this point where there were 4 Rhystic Studies that we still ended relatively quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they didn't have any heavy yappers in the pod. The issue is the yap.
No, the issue is 100% the yap. You can still be efficient with your Rhystic Study triggers. You also have to acknowledge that anything above 1 Rhystic Study is asinine. And not trigger-wise, I'm talking about value-wise, right?
I have been talking to more players I've been reading more players in like Europe and Japan talking about how their metas are way different, and they don't have any issues with their Rhystic Study. And I wonder if it's a purely American thing, but I've also read Americans politic more than most of the metas. Again, I've never played overseas, so I don't know how true that is, but I have played against some extremely yappy players.
Oh, yeah.
Who drag, and I think that's my biggest issue, right? If the idea is that, and this is kind of what Sam's argument was, that games drag on too long because of Rhystic Study. Mm-hmm. And that seems to me to be more about where people are complaining about the bans, is that, Rhystic Study causes games to go long.
Right.
But I have played in pods where there was no Rhystic Study and the games went long. And that's because and it's always the same 30 or 40 individuals in this game.
Right.
We know who they are. We're not blind to who those people are.
Right.
It's always the same 30 or 40 individuals that are causing games to go long every single time they're in a pod. I have a thesis on this, actually. And it's part of my hate for Kinnan, right? If you've ever watched a game, you go to time, there's always one of two things. It's either a known heavy yapper or it's a Kinnan player.
And sometimes a combination of the two.
A lot of
times. Because sometimes that's the same thing because you have to yap so heavily on Kinnan.
I actually believe that this is why these games are going long.
I do think you've said this on this podcast before, actually, and I don't disagree.
And this isn't me like piling on to Kinnan hate. This is actually like a legitimate thing, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I believe Kinnan requires so much extensive yapping, like we were talking about earlier, that it requires you to constantly be like in that, I'm going to yap this whole game to continuously push my pieces forward, because otherwise it takes one bowmaster to nuke you out of the game, or it feels that way, right? Yeah. I think Rockdrass is very similar in this vein. I've even had games with TNT where I've gotten to a point where I've had to start heavy yapping to save my pieces. Mm-hmm. It doesn't happen in TNT as often. I'd say like 1 in every 50 games, I felt the need to like go heavy yapping, which is why I like the deck so much, because I do not like to heavy yap. I have some yapping for sure, but I do not like to go, super heavy into it. I just don't feel the need to do so.
Yeah.
It's also why I'm enjoying Terra so much, right? Because I don't have to yap.
You don't have to say anything.
But these other, the green decks that are like high mana value that become boogeyman really fast have to yap a lot. So I do think they create these longer games. And outside of top 16 games, every game I watch go long is always a Kinnan.
No, you're not. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. My other split with the Rhystic Study issue is I do think we are in a format that signs up to play with the highest power, highest caliber cards. So if the argument is, well, there are too many triggers or, it's too broken, it's kind of like, well, we signed up for that, right? Now Nadu is kind of the exception to that argument in the sense that it was literally called a design mistake, right? But other than that, I generally think I err on the side of we kind of signed up to play with the most busted shit.
Well, and we know
this is what we're here for.
We know Nadu is unique too, because Nadu was insanely busted, so much so that it's banned in literally every format.
Exactly.
Every single format it could have been. I don't even think it's legal. Is it legal in Vintage still?
I don't think it's legal in anything still.
I'd have to look.
I mean, fact check it afterwards, right? I don't.
Because I
don't
know
think it is.
I think it was legal. Like it was legal in Duel Commander, and then it finally got banned.
Right.
And then it was legal in. Legacy was legal for a bit, right? And then it got banned. So maybe it is Vintage only now. This is the only place you can play Nadu is Vintage.
We talked about the order in which these were banned because after it was printed, we just slowly kind of saw the chips fall where it just
because first it was Modern, banned. Then CEDH.
Yep.
The Nadu became so busted it was banned in almost every format.
Yeah.
The Dockside was format warping. Mm-hmm. Rhystic Study is not as format warping. What I mean by that is, while the format does centralize around Rhystic Study to some degree, Dockside took decks out of the game. Like, you could not play enchantment decks. You could not play artifact heavy decks. Mm. If you did so, you were really fighting a significant uphill battle where you lost games just by the nature of the deck you ran. And it wasn't like, oh, okay, it's just a bad matchup against this one deck. It was every deck with red was playing Dockside. And every deck with red then meant that your matchup was bad. Just by the nature of being an enchantment deck, an enchantment heavy deck, or an artifact heavy deck. Like, it just took those decks out of the format. And we've seen those decks all come back. And to varying degrees of success. And it's changed, you don't get punished for developing. Yeah. My issue with Dockside always was, I get punished for just playing the game. You don't have to do anything on your side except sit there. I don't have to develop anything. I don't have to do anything special. If you are a Sisay deck, and I've watched this happen so many times, you do nothing but play Sisay and sit there.
Yeah.
And then, I get 15 treasures off this Dockside, I win.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all you had to do.
Yep.
Shit, sometimes you didn't have to play Sisay. You just needed 2 lands and you win the game. That's ridiculous. At least with Rhystic Study, If players are smart, they can play around it, right? It does warp.
Not when there's 3 of them.
Well,
like
then you strategically pick. Well, if someone has all 3, then you made a mistake.
I was gonna say there's no strategy that gets you around the clone meta, and I think
There is.
that's
There's 100. No, that's not true at all. People
once they've hit. Your argument can't be, we'll counter the draw engine. Once they've hit, there is no strategy that gets you past 3 Rhystic
No,
studies.
but that is the strategy, is counter the draw engine. Players are not adapting to this meta at all. That's the problem. You cannot let Rhystic and Kinnan, who only want to copy effects, to then allow them to copy. Some people just need to realize when you're playing in this pod, you need to have a pregame discussion about, hey, let's all agree not to play Smothering Tithe and not to play Rhystic Study this game. I understand these are powerful engines. We're all just going to have to live without it for this game because we cannot allow these decks to do it. If we are going to play these, then we need to all agree we're going to counter the shit out of this deck if it tries to copy them, right? They can get 1, but we can't let them have 3. That's, I think, what happened. People were watching me play out 3 Rhystic Studies, and they had interaction. The guy next to me flashed his interaction like 2 times to me. And I threw it out there just to see if he'd counter it. I expected it to get countered. He didn't. He sat on his interaction because we are hyper trained in CEDH to only counter wins. Rhystic Study is a win. I'm going to say it 1,000 times. Rhystic Study is a win. These decks cannot win the game without it. If you deny it to them, they will lose. I promise. Just because the win didn't happen right away does not mean it wasn't because of that wasn't what they've won with. Like I see people who go like, oh, Necro is so much like worse. Yeah, Necro loses you the game right away. But if Rhystic Study hangs out long enough, it will also lose you the game. Unless you are a deck designed to get under Rhystic Study, you're probably losing 90% of the time. If you're playing against a deck like Kinnan and Rog Ishai, you are definitely losing if they start landing enchantments.
Yeah.
Right? Like I
guess the question is, right, how far do you take yourself out of the game, or how far do you go to stop somebody else from having a draw engine? Because let's just say the Kinnan or the Rogeshire or Blue Farm or whatever just draws it or tutors for it or had it in their opening. You know what I mean? And then you guys don't play your Rhystic Studies. You're all responsible, quote unquote. And then they have the draw engine now. And they've now had their game plan online. And then they start cloning their own draw engine.
You counter their plan. If you're not counting
right, but if you don't have the interaction, right? Like
that's what I'm saying.
far are we going?
It needs to be a pregame discussion. The same way you talk, we argue you talk about Turbo, you need to talk about those decks. Right? If we know that they want to set up draw engines, then we need to be able to play around that aspect. People just don't have pregame discussions. That's the problem.
That's fair.
And so these decks are allowed to run wild. If you're not willing to have the pregame discussion and you're not willing to adjust your decks accordingly, because there is cards you could run in CEDH to neuter these decks. Right? You could run Reverent Silence. Whatever the white one is, right? Where it's like you cast a white spell and then you can cast the spell for free. It's like 3 and a white, I think. It destroys all enchantments. Corwin was talking about this weekend. Okay. You could run things like Haywire Might. You could run things like Aura Shards. We don't traditionally run these cards. And I think my theory is because of Necropotence. Because it's, why would I run enchantment removal when I can't remove a card like Necropotence? That's my theory, right?
I don't know that I'd boil that down to Necro. I don't think we can put all that on Necro.
No, but
not running enchantment removal. I think players are inherently greedy, and I think if it doesn't win you the game, or if it doesn't further your strategy in some way, shape, or form,
but that's not true because we run force negation. That doesn't enhance our strategy.
It allows you to get a turn to win the game.
So does nuking their Rhystic Study so that I can go to my win.
But if you're in a game without Rhystic Studies, right? If those cards can just sit dead in hand.
There is no game in this format currently where enchantment removal is dead. There is no game. I dare you to find me a game where that enchantment is dead.
Yes, it depends.
No, there's no game. No game whatsoever.
Okay.
If you're playing against Rogthras, you've got Training Grounds, Rhystic, Breach, Enduring Vitality. Those alone are worth removing from the game, right? And that's 4 of their best ones. That's not even counting things like Growing Rights, hitting it before it flips. Trying to think of all the enchantments are in. Survival of the Fittest, taking it out of TNT, and Tevish Thras lists, and Frank Thras lists. For Dog Thras, right? Removing even something like Wild Growth and taking them off of mana, or removing whatever the weird little green enchantment they run that, untapped stuff. Removing something like an Exploration from or a spelunking from Lumra's board. I defy you to tell me there's not a deck a game where that card is dead. There's no world, because every deck is so enchantment focused where that card is dead. Now, sometimes it'll feel dead if you're playing against like a Rogside and he rips a turn 2 Necro and you're like, oh, well.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I think Necro is uniquely bad.
I was going to say, that's the thing. What if it's just like Rogsai, Atali, Ral?
Well, then
Good luck.
Well, no, because Atali is still fine against it. What if it tries to run Food Chain?
Well, yeah. But I mean, I'm talking about like draw engines, Rhystic Studies, Mystic Remoras.
That makes no sense. Your argument is enchantment removal is dead.
Yes.
My argument is enchantment removal is never dead, because there's always breach and there's always things like Food Chain.
But it goes back to, it's not, Necro's not the problem though.
No, Necro is the problem, because it's the only thing enchantment removal can't remove before you get the value off of it. Mm-hmm. Everything else can be removed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can Food Chain away the Atali, but as soon as you try to do the first Food Chain, I kill it. Mm-hmm. You can breach, but as soon as you try to get out the LED, I hit it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to have access to more counter magic, but let's say there's a world where you don't. I get to kill it. Necropotence is the one card in all of Magic that I can think of where even when it's dead, it still gets the trigger.
Well, yeah.
Later in the turn.
Yeah.
I can't think of another card of Magic where it's like, hey, I kill it. It's not on the board, but even when you move phases and go to a different phase, I still get the trigger of my cards get to go to my hand.
Yeah, it holds the trigger in place, which is unique to Necro.
And that's why my theory is that Necro made enchantment removal feel bad for players when it got more popular and players are running Necropotence more often. People are like, oh, well, enchantment removal doesn't hit the ubiquitous. Because remember, this was pre-ban. So Rhystic Study was a problem, but not quite to the level it is today. Right? Necro was significantly more of a problem because you were docksiding and necroing and doing the nonsense. I mean, every game I basically lost to Rockside was almost always Necro.
Right.
And you don't do that anymore. So I think people removed enchantment removal. This is my theory. I'd have to go back and like really dig into these lists.
I was gonna say, I think post-ban though, I don't think that's the reasoning.
Well, people never adjusted.
Well, I was gonna say, I think post-ban goes back to the reasoning of we're so conditioned to leave people's value alone that people just don't see a point in it, and it doesn't further your strategy. And so it just kind of is what it is. We leave value alone.
But any piece of removal doesn't further your strategy. Mm-hmm. Any
people cutting removal left and right.
Right.
My point.
Well, but you're still running some, right? You're running at least a little bit. Everybody's running at least a couple bounce spells at most. And I'm just saying maybe we should be considering more enchantment removal in the format.
Probably should.
We say it's bad because we traditionally have always felt it's bad, but I mean, think about how much things have changed in the meta post ban, right? Where it was like initially TNT was strong, and then we kind of switched it to like, TNK's back and Kinnon's back and Rockdrass is doing its Cradle thing, and then I brought the TNT Cradle thing around, and then the Rogish thing has now come around, and Kinnon, and the Kinnon NBC was built out, and it took a while, right? No one woke up on the day after the bans and said, "Oh, well, I'm just going to copy Rhystic Study 100 times."
Oh yeah,
it took time for players to figure out like, oh, hey, this is a strong build, and people still don't do it. I mean, it's not like every deck is rolling out Rhystic, Mirror Maid, Copy Enchantment, Clever Impersonator, and Flash Photography in every deck.
No, not every.
Even though every blue deck could, in theory, do it.
Not necessarily. I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Like you could do it in Blue Farm.
You could.
Is it better than the current Blue Farm strategy? Probably not, but you could.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that stops you. Could Rogside do the Rogish thing? Sure.
Probably.
You're missing Tithe, but you still have 1,000 Rhystics at that point.
That's fair.
And better rituals in Dark Ritual. I mean, arguably better rituals, but either way.
I'd rather have a Tithe. What do you mean?
I mean, I don't blame you, but Demonic Tutor feels a lot better than Enlightened Tutor.
Fair enough.
So there's arguments to be made on both sides. I don't know that it's a clear-cut discussion. I'm glad it was 50-50 and that it requires more discussion because that's not even counting the casual players, which Hire has to take into account when he's on the CFP. I would like to see, we talked about this, I would like to see a side event run where they do ban Rhystic and just see what that looks like. My suspicion, Necro decks and Thrasios decks go nuts and everybody else suffers. That is my suspicion.
That's another thing. So part of the demon on my shoulder is like clones awful, 3 Rhystic studies, asinine, hate it here. The other side is we all signed up to play with the most busted shit, live with it. Then the other side says Gaia's Cradle goes crazy, and that's a format I don't want to be in. I'm
'cause that
so good on that.
Thrasios becomes the ubiquitous best draw engine in the
I'm
game.
so good on that. I don't want any part. Leave Rhystic Study. In fact, I will deal with the 3. If Cradle, no.
You thought 3 Rhystic was bad. Now 10 untappers.
You know the dockside copers that left after Dockside left the format? If Rhystic Study leaves the format, I'm leaving not because I care that much about Rhystic Study, but because if I see one more Cradle, I'm losing it.
Your Nightmare pod is just three rock passes every time?
And if every pod turns into Big Flips, Kinnan, Rogthras, Cradle, TNT, take me out back. I've had enough.
All right. Well, we could debate it all night, but we'd probably end up in circles. So I think we'll call the debate there.
Yeah.
So thanks again for tuning in for today's episode. We really appreciate all the support. Definitely, join us at the Boil this weekend or the Misplay on the Lake on the 18th. I think we've got a couple events in between there, but if I could not tell you what they are off the top of my head. Yeah, I'm trying to even think. I don't know.
Some local stuff in North Carolina.
Yeah, we'll be local for a bit after the Boil, taking a little bit of a break too.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely join us. If you see us, say hi. We really appreciate you guys coming up and we had again at the Kraken Cup, we had a bunch of people come up and say how much they like the show and how much it's helped them. And we live for that. Honestly, we put together this show for the express purpose of helping players get better, because we saw a gap there, and I don't want people to have to feel like they have to pay for coaching to get better at the game. So, really hope that this is helping people, and really, we love the feedback, and it seems like we've made a little bit of an impact. So that means a lot to us. So make sure to please like, subscribe, follow us across all the social media platforms, join our Discord. We're going to be, I think, a little bit more lively in there moving forward. And then, definitely keep supporting Team Monolith. That does help Lily and I, and, helps the rest of the team. So we really do appreciate the support there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
So, yeah, we'll see you guys next week, and good luck on all your events.
Bye, everyone.